Don't mess with me.
I won't mess with you.
All right, pal, otherwise I'll take you back through history and beat you to death with my intellect.
That would take a long time. First you'd have to find it.
From the talk of the town to the whisper of the village.
Count to number 4, please.
Breaking global sports news and the answers to questions you never even thought to ask.
Has anyone got a spoon for my kiwi fruit?
The Two Mikes
Just like in that film.
on Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mikes, and it's time to say a very, very good morning to Mr. Mike, Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
Yeah, good morning to you, Mike. And I have to say, that item on the news I've just heard, £50 million to be spent on repairing potholes,
Yes.
is not nearly enough.
It doesn't seem like as it will go very far.
It won't
really.
go very far at all. Do you know how many potholes there are in this country?
Millions, I would have
Well,
thought.
let me tell you this. Let me remind you of the John Lennon song.
Yeah.
How many holes were there in Blackburn, Lancashire?
I can't remember.
3,000 holes
Please don't
in
start
Blackburn,
singing.
Lancashire.
We're only like 1 minute into the show. I've already had complaints. I've had lots of criticism all throughout the day,
Yes.
saying please don't mention any dead singers, please don't mention any music on the
Yes.
show tonight because Porky's just singing too much. He has to be stopped.
I've had a lot of compliments. But anyway, getting back to the potholes, right? I
Yeah.
want to tell you this. There are so many potholes where I live in Stockbroker Belt, Surrey,
Yeah.
that you might as well actually close all the roads for the amount of damage it's causing to the cars, which the
Well,
local
maybe if you didn't all
authority...
drive around so much, then
Well-
you'd be better off. If you walked everywhere, then there wouldn't be so many potholes.
I do more walking than anybody I know. Don't
Do you?
you get on to me
Well, you
about
don't know
walking.
anybody.
I know lots of people,
Do you?
pal. Don't you talk about walking. I mean, you're
Do any
fat...
walking today?
Your fat, jelly-like, blobby, belly-framed body is such a disgrace that you clearly haven't walked since the year Zog.
I walk a
and
lot,
you wouldn't know
actually.
anything about it.
I walk the dog. I walk
the dog.
frequently.
You
during-
amble. You amble with the dog. You don't walk.
I walk.
When you walk, you've got to walk at plus 4 miles an hour for it to have any effect whatsoever on your frame. Any effect whatsoever.
Well, what effect is it having on your frame? It's making you fatter.
No, it's not. Oh, no, it's not.
Well, how much do you weigh? You said you weighed, what, 82 kilos or something?
82,
Which nobody
83
believes
kilos.
for a minute.
I don't care what they believe. I
No.
know what I believe. Now, getting back to the potholes, right?
Yeah.
I was quite enamoured today to read a piece in the Times, the
Yeah.
Thunderer, one of the world's most influential newspapers,
Oh, yeah.
by a gentleman called Matthew Parris.
Oh, yes.
Now, Matthew Parris is a former MP.
He is.
He is an extremely able writer and...
Quite whimsical, isn't he?
Whimsical and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, I know Matthew a bit. You know,
Do you?
I've done work with him in the past and
Have
all
you?
that.
When was the last time you spoke to him?
In the near to far, no, in the near to middle past, I would say.
And
In the
how
near
far-
to middle
is
past.
that, what, 10 years?
I
Last 10
haven't
years?
got time to start defining all that. What I was
Right.
going to say to you is...
We used to get him on our show, actually.
You used to get him on our show, yeah. A decent, very decent chap, very
He is,
decent
yeah.
chap.
Speaks very highly of you.
Yes, he does, yeah. Very decent
Not.
chap. But I have to say, I have got no sympathy from the piece he was whinging on about in his column in the Times today.
All right.
He comes hurtling down a hill in the country in the dark, okay?
Yeah. In a car or in a bike?
On a bike,
Oh,
on a push bike.
Yeah.
Fortunately, he's got a helmet on.
Oh, yeah.
When all of a sudden his bike goes into a deep pothole,
Yeah.
and he goes hurtling over the handlebars, crashes into the road, you know,
Well, potholes are very dangerous for cyclists.
busts a few ribs and
Yeah.
all this kind of
They-
stuff.
They
you know.
are very dangerous for
Well, I
cyclists.
totally agree with that. But having said that, I would much rather that potholes wrecked and destroyed bicycles rather than wrecking and destroying the suspension on my rather expensive Mercedes car.
Well, that's because you're only thinking of yourself again.
No, it's because I'm thinking I pay a fortune to provide roads in this country for cars to drive on. Matthew Parris, decent chap as he is,
Yeah.
and
Well, let's not get into this car road tax
hang
scenario,
on,
though.
good all-round egg.
so boring.
Does not produce or contribute 1 penny towards the state of the road upon which he's riding.
Yeah.
Therefore, where's the sympathy factor for cyclists who drop into
Well,
potholes?
it's more dangerous
Not
for
very
cyclists.
high.
It's
Not
more
very
dangerous.
high.
Well,
Well,
what's
get
gonna
off your
happen-
bike then.
Well, what's going
get
to
off
happen?
your bike
you
and
don't
get into a
yeah, but
car.
You don't always see them. You see, when you're in a car, all that's going to be damaged is your suspension. Whereas if you actually crunch into a pothole out on a bike, you can
Yes.
fall off
Well,
and hurt yourself.
that's your problem.
And in some cases get badly injured by a car.
Well, not on a country lane coming down a hill late at night after
Well,
you've
you
come
can.
out the pub.
Country lanes are very dangerous places. You can drive around a country lane and suddenly come across somebody on a horse.
Yes, you can.
Or you can suddenly
Yeah.
come across a herd of sheep crossing the road.
Yeah, I'm talking about cyclists and potholes. I don't
You're
care
talking
about
about,
sheep
you just
on
mentioned
roads.
country lanes.
Yeah, country lane, because that's the road
You don't
he
know
was
anything
on.
about country lanes.
I know
mean, when we
loads
went down to Bournemouth, you found yourself getting lost down a country
I
lane.
did
Do you
not.
remember?
I did not.
You did. We went down this country lane and we ended up in a farm.
We
ended
went
up
through
having to do a
somebody's
U-turn.
farm. Yeah, well, no, I didn't do a U-turn at all. Now, anyway, the point of my story there...
How many holes in Blackburn, Lancashire, did you say?
3,000.
Because I'm getting tweets here from people saying it's 4,000.
4,000.
Yeah.
It goes up to 6,000, actually, in some versions of it.
Some versions?
Yes,
Well,
that's
there's
right.
more than one version.
It's not more than one version, but it's an anecdotal figure.
Well, the actual lyric apparently is 4,000. So you got that one wrong.
Yeah, I think it is 4,000.
Straight off the bat.
Yeah. Now, what I was going to say
That's
is...
from Chris in Aylesbury, by the way.
You will not believe this. Now, you see, this is what I've got to talk to you about.
What?
The wonderful county of Surrey, Stockbroker-Belt Surrey, is obviously a Tory-held shire county.
Yeah.
Now, if it's a Tory-held shire county, one of the reasons they said when they were out of power for all those years that the potholes are terrible, they say, well, that sort of Labour government, they give all the money to inner city constituencies where their voters are.
Where their voters are, yeah.
And so we don't get any.
But isn't there an issue as well with the local council? Because local councils are, in many ways, responsible for potholing and fixing.
Well,
whereas now they're talking about giving central government money to them.
It's 8 years now since there was a Labour government. So they, unless they've rebalanced the whole thing, the money must still be going somewhere because the roads are getting worse, not better.
Yeah, because there's more cars on the road.
More cars on the road.
More lorries on the road. I mean, if you think about it, think about all of the online shopping that people do. Think of all the couriers that are out there.
It's going to close the country down with white van man.
It's all very well saying you don't have to, go shopping anymore.
Anyway.
What do you mean anyway?
We only mentioned this in passing. We don't want to dwell on it.
No, because I'm defeating your argument. I don't want to talk about it
No,
anymore.
you're not defeating my argument. Now, I
actually had an interaction with a cyclist today.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
How did it go?
Well, it was very calm because I was very calm.
Yeah.
But this woman was very uncalm because I was apparently parking I wasn't parking. I was waiting at a traffic light.
Yeah.
And I had supposedly encroached into that box where it's got the bike. Just by the traffic light. And you're not supposed to stop your car in it.
No.
And I was sitting there, and I was vaguely aware of this, person sort of waving her arms about to my left.
Yes.
And I thought it was a woman who needed some help.
Right.
Maybe needed some direction.
Because you're good at going out helping women in distress, aren't you?
Well, I'm happy to help anyone in distress,
Yeah.
especially people who are lost in the middle of London.
Sure,
And so I lowered my window down, and in a very
you see all women as a potential sexual
Not at all.
partner.
No,
that's why you go to help women in distress.
It's not true.
It is true.
I certainly wouldn't go for this particular woman. It has to be said.
Oh, she was ugly, was she?
She wasn't ugly, no, but she's not. I mean, it was like middle of the day. I wasn't interested in that sort of thing. I was trying to help her.
Yes, you are. You log it. You log it, and you think, if I'm here at this time again tomorrow, I could be in here.
I've never yet picked up a woman on a bike.
Yeah, well.
Okay. Anyway,
no,
so
well,
I said,
won't make the obvious joke about you and women and bikes.
No,
go on,
please don't. It's a family show,
Yeah.
And maybe Finn's listening.
Yes,
so you don't want to do that. So she goes, "You're not supposed to be here."
Yeah.
In a very loud voice. I said, "What are you talking about?"
You should have said you're not supposed to be anywhere.
You're not supposed to be here.
Like that, love.
And I said, "What do you
sorry,
mean? I'm not
terrible.
supposed."
I'll take that back.
And I didn't know what she was
Take that
talking
back.
about. I didn't hear it, luckily, because you're talking over me, so maybe
okay,
nobody heard it.
Yeah.
And then she goes, "You're in the box," and I went, "What are you talking about?" "You're in my box," she said.
Yes.
And I went, "Well, I'm terribly sorry." I said, "But I've got enough room for you. There's plenty of room. It's a wide enough road." And in the end, I'm afraid I had to issue an expletive to her.
So you swore at her?
I did, yeah.
Oh, dear me.
Because, she just wouldn't stop rabbiting on about it.
Honestly.
And it was completely needless. Absolutely
standards of behaviour.
And utterly needless.
Standards of behaviour.
But she was incandescent with rage.
Yeah, well.
Just because, there was plenty of room
that's
for
the way
everybody.
cyclists get, I'm afraid.
There was no reason for there to be a row. It was really ridiculous.
I'm afraid that's the way it gets.
That's my story of the day.
What I was going to tell you before I was so rudely interrupted is, it's a fantastic show tonight because I'm going to tell everybody about the fact that 100 years this week, right?
Yeah.
One of my heroes, Yehudi Menuhin, was born.
Oh, was he?
Yeah.
Yehudi.
Yehudi.
This is the guy that you talked about the other week.
Well, we talked about him because he's got the Yehudi Menuhin School of Violin Music opposite the Chelsea training ground in Cobham.
Exactly right.
Which is where? Stockbroker-Belt, Surrey.
I mean, where?
All the best things happen in Stockbroker-Belt, Surrey.
That's rubbish. When did Yehudi Menuhin die?
Well, he was born 100 years ago this week.
When did he die?
About...
we only did this like a week and a half ago, so you should remember.
About 18 years ago.
18 years ago would be 1999.
8.
18 years ago.
1998.
It's 2016, isn't it?
It's 2016, that's right,
so you're saying 1998.
Well, about then.
Incorrect.
About then.
It's 99.
Well, there you go. I said 99.
No, you said 18 years ago.
I said 99, and you said you mean 98.
No, you
You'd put me off it.
Well, no, because you said 18 years ago.
Anyway, look, I've got a fantastic
how's he one of your heroes?
Well, he is. I mean, he was a great man. All great men, all men who become the best at what they do. He was the best violin player in the world until something happened.
What?
Well, I'm going to tell you that in a minute, but I have done some research on Yehudi, and I find through some historical research papers that I've accessed, I can tell you something amazing.
No, really? Do you know where he was from?
Yes, he was born in New York City and grew up in San Francisco.
Right.
And then moved to England to live with his English wife, They settled in Bath and then ended up in London.
No, okay.
And then went down to Cobham to found the school.
Yeah, down to Cobham.
But do you know, at the end...
We haven't got time for this now.
The last concerts of his career were dreadful. He became one of the worst violin players in the world. No, he did, and I can tell you why in a minute.
Right, you could have done some albums with Eric Clapton.
That's right, yeah, I can tell you why in a minute.
The worst guitarist in the world. This is Talk Sport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. Talk Sport.
Pas trop fort, d'accord. Parce que la seconde coche, il faut entendre. Yap.
You'll be able to identify this piece of music, obviously.
That's Yehudi.
Well, yeah, it is. Of course, it's Yehudi.
Yeah.
That's him talking as well in the background. You can hear him.
That's right, yeah. No, Yehudi was a great guy, but unfortunately what happened was...
So you're not going to identify that for us, then?
Well, that's Yehudi's...
Well, if he's one of your heroes, surely you know every piece of music he's played.
No, of course I don't, because he played thousands of pieces of music.
Well, if you played me an Eric Clapton song, I'd tell you what it was.
Yeah, I'm not even going to pretend that I know exactly which piece of Yehudi music that is.
That's good, because you don't.
Now, hang on.
Do you want to take a stab at it?
What?
Do you want to take a stab at it?
All right, it was Yehudi's fifth.
Yehudi didn't write symphonies.
Right,
he was playing Mozart.
Oh, okay, he's playing a bit of Mozart, was he? Okay, yeah, well, that's all right. Now, what I was going to say to you was, what happened was, right, he was...
What are we talking about now?
Yehudi.
Oh, okay.
And why, when he got to middle age, his concerts were so dreadful, people were walking out.
So what happened to him then?
What happened was this, and it wasn't revealed until, well, really, maybe I'm revealing it now, actually. What happened was... When he was about 25, right, and he was living on Long Island, which is
Long Island,
in New York, right? He was invited to a shooting party.
Oh yeah.
Joined guests at a shooting party. Oh no, it was a shooting range. It wasn't like shooting pheasants and all that.
There's a handgun law in New York State. You can't have guns.
Well, they did in Long Island.
No, well, I mean, it's a shooting range. That's different.
The shooting range, yeah. This is in 1941.
You're allowed to shoot in a range, but you're not allowed to carry a gun, like, on the street.
So anyway, he said, come down, it was like a big country estate somebody had. So he said, come down to the shooting range. Okay. So he goes down. So
bit of clay pigeon shooting, you think?
No, I think it was shooting at targets.
Right.
Shooting at targets, right? So what happens was, he goes down there, and, of course, he had a particularly... well-developed shoulder, because that's where he rested his violin.
Yes.
And he played his violin...
Well, you don't really need to have a well-developed shoulder. It's just something you get used to.
Well, this is what I'm saying. He had a very versatile shoulder.
You wear a cushion normally underneath the violin.
No, he didn't wear a cushion.
No, you do. Every violinist wears a cushion.
He did wear a cushion, yeah.
I used to play the violin.
That's right, yeah, he did wear a cushion, yeah. In fact, he wore a cushion both under the violin and under his chin onto the violin. Yeah, right. 2 cushions, okay? Yeah. So anyway... What happened was, you see, him being a violinist, somebody said, have you ever fired a gun, Yehudi? And he said, no, I've never fired a gun.
Right.
He said,
Mr. Menuhin.
Yeah, Mr. Menuhin. Would you like a go? So he said, yeah, okay, why not? So
just long drawn-out story.
No, this is a great story.
Which is going to end with him going deaf from the gunshot, presumably.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Right.
So he picks it up, and because he's a violinist, and he hadn't got a clue what you do with a gun, he picks it up, and
Did he try and play it?
No, he puts the handle of the gun against his left shoulder.
No.
He does. And turns sideways, you see what I mean?
Right.
So, in fact, what he did is
why didn't they give him a lesson and say that's not how you do it?
Well, I don't know. Perhaps they thought because he's Yehudi Menuhin and he's a genius, you can't tell a genius what to do.
Yeah.
So he picks up the gun and he literally lodges it in his shoulder like it's a violin, if you see what I mean. And then he fires at the target.
Yeah. And then there's a bit of recoil.
He gets a bullseye.
Right.
So somebody
that's not bad, is it?
Somebody said, excuse me, you said you'd never fired a gun before.
Yeah.
He said, I've never fired a gun before. He said, you just hit the bullseye. He said, nobody does that.
The bullseye?
Yeah, he said, nobody...
I thought you said the bullseye.
I've just told you, shut up.
What did he hit? Tell me. Tell me what he hit.
Somebody said...
come on.
No, I'm not.
Tell me what he bullseye like everybody else.
You've become a one-trick pony, you know.
No, I haven't.
Just picking up on every word I say.
And
I think the audience find it intensely boring.
They don't.
You know?
It's because you say everything wrong.
So anyway...
Like somebody who's actually been made in space and been taught English by an alien.
Yeah, we've got to ignore all this nonsense. So anyway, one of the guests at the shoot says, well, that must have just been beginner's luck.
Yeah.
He says, yes, it probably was. But then somebody said, well, go on, try it again and see what happens this time. Because they wanted him to miss the target altogether.
Right.
He then picks up another gun, a different gun. He puts it into his shoulder, the same way as he did the first time.
Unorthodox style.
Unorthodox style, like a violin.
Right.
He then fires it again. Guess what?
He hits another bullseye.
He hits the bullseye. Just like that. Bang, straight through.
Amazing.
So then somebody says, this is unbelievable. He said, that's the only 2 times I've ever fired a gun.
Right.
Somebody asked him to do it again because it's now become a party piece and they're inviting more people down.
Crowds are gathering.
Yeah, to watch. And he said, no, I'm not. He said, to be honest, that didn't do my shoulder any good. From that moment on, he couldn't play the violin as well as he had. So this genius playing the violin all his life since the age of 8 had suddenly knackered his shoulder.
What, just from shooting a gun twice?
Shooting a gun twice.
What, did it bruising or something
The
like
recoil from the gun had done his shoulder in.
Right.
And do you know what? After that, sometimes, literally, he was playing concerts where people were walking out because it sounded so bad.
I find that very hard to believe.
No, it's absolutely true.
Where are you getting all this from?
Menuhin was a teenage prodigy, but in later life, following the gun incidents, right, his bow arm, he had problems with his bow arm and his shoulder,
Right.
and his concerts became, literally, according to one critic, a toe-curling experience.
I find that very hard to believe. Who is this alleged critic? Who is he?
A critic.
A critic.
A critic.
Is this not just another smear job by one of your sort of former tabloid...
Why would I want to smear Yehudi Menuhin, one of the greatest musicians of all time?
But I've never heard that in his later life, somehow his concerts became toe-curling experiences.
They
and that
were.
He was awful.
Yeah, they were.
I just don't believe it.
Well, they were.
I don't believe it.
No, they were. I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
All right, well, let me tell you some of the things that are coming in. Tom says this on Twitter at the Two Mics. Porky Parry's always annoying, but even for him, tonight is proving to be an incredible demonstration of absolute nonsense.
Sorry, what's that then?
What you've just been saying.
No. People find it fascinating. I know things other people don't know because I read a lot more than they do. I have access to all sorts of information.
Angelo says this. Eric Clapton, worst guitarist in the world. Really? Even Porky wouldn't say something that stupid.
I didn't say that.
Yeah, you did.
I never said that.
Here's one from Steve, who says, whenever he says stockbroker belt Surrey, I think stocky fat bloke Parry.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh.
A lot of people complaining about you shouting as well.
Yes, well, I'm afraid that sometimes your nonsense rambling,
William says you need 2 radios set at different volumes, one turned lower to allow for Porky's shouting, and one higher for MG to listen to.
Yeah, well, that's because you mumble, you see. People can't hear what you're saying.
And by the way, there's somebody called Alan who's tweeted a picture of, remember that Beast in the Thames story that we talked about yesterday?
Yes, indeed, I do, yeah.
He says, the BBC 5 Live are covering this story. What do you think? And I said to him, well, I'll tell you what I think. We did it yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
It's now on the front page of the Daily Star.
It is,
and
indeed.
you were mocking me yesterday for saying that it was some kind of strange...
It's obviously driftwood or something, isn't it?
It's not obviously driftwood. The scientists are completely baffled as to what it could be.
Let me just read this to you. Amazing footage yesterday emerged showing a sea creature dubbed the Dock Ness Monster wading through London waters.
Yeah.
The brief film clip shows a hump creature making its way through the Thames near the O2 Arena.
That's right.
Isn't that where Saturday's fight's taking place?
It is indeed.
Yes, that's
Anthony
right,
Joshua, yeah.
That's right, yeah. Before sinking back under the water.
Yeah.
A guy called, this strange name, the person who filmed it is called Pen Plate, who filmed the creature after spotting it from the air as he crossed the river on the Emirates airline cable car above Greenwich. Something huge was moving under the water and then briefly surfaced. Are the whales in the Thames? Is it a weird submarine?
Well, there have been whales in the Thames before, haven't there?
Yeah, but they...
I mean, quite rare, but I mean, it does happen.
Yeah, one got away, didn't it? And lived another 40 years, we heard recently.
Well, I think one got away and another one died that came up the river.
Yes,
Do you remember
that's right.
there was one that came up, and do you remember the guy who went to rescue it, or was part of the rescue squad,
yeah.
parked his car on, I think it was either London Bridge or one of the bridges, Tower Bridge, and got a parking ticket
Did he?
while he was trying to rescue the whale.
Well, that's what happens to do-gooders, I'm afraid.
Do-gooders?
Yeah.
I thought
Right.
that was what you did. Now, your favourite newspaper is in,
Yes.
The New Day. Do you know
That's
what it
right.
says on the back? The personal listography this morning.
That's right.
I think you might struggle with this one. List 3 good things about yourself.
No, you see, that's fascinating. What would you put down there?
Good things?
Yeah, about yourself.
I would say honourable. I would say loyal.
Loyal.
And loving.
Oh, don't make me laugh.
What's wrong with that?
You'll make me laugh.
Honourable,
honestly.
loyal and loving. That's
You
what
think
I'd
you're
say.
honourable?
Yeah.
With your track record of relationship, do
honourable.
you think you're honourable?
Yes, I am honourable.
So you're honourable to your first wife, were you?
Yeah, I was, yeah.
No, you weren't.
Our marriage didn't work out.
Why?
For lots of reasons.
No, because you were infidelious.
No, it wasn't just because of that.
On a number of occasions.
It wasn't just because of that.
What was your second classification?
I said loyal.
Loyal?
Yeah.
Who are you loyal to?
I'm loyal to my friends.
You haven't got any friends.
I've got more friends than you've got.
No. You're like me. You haven't got any friends.
No,
I don't have any friends by choice. You go seeking friends, and then you think you're loyal to them because you share a few beers with them.
Well, if you knew any of my friends and you asked them what...
You haven't got any friends.
If you asked any of them...
When do you ever go and see your friends?
I see my friends all the time.
Rubbish.
Yeah, I do.
Rubbish.
I just don't tell you about it. I don't get jealous.
No. You either spend time with me or your lovely daughter
I hardly
Emma,
ever spend any time
or
with
your
you.
family down in Sussex.
As little time with you as possible.
You don't have any friends who you go and see.
I have plenty of friends that I go and see.
And what was the third classification of yours?
And the third one was, what was it? Honourable, loyal and loving.
Can't remember.
Loving.
Oh, yeah, who do you love?
I love loads of people.
Oh, yeah? Yeah.
Well, I see, I have a family.
Yeah.
And you don't know anything about that.
Yeah,
because you don't have one.
I know all about it, don't
So
worry.
you're on your own, like a solitary sort of, sado.
Not at all.
Whereas I've got love for all my 4 children. I've got love for the mothers of those children.
Oh, well,
I've got love for my mother. I've got love for my sister. I've got love for a lot of things.
Why do you think our favourite paper, New Day, has gone on another women's issue on the front?
Well, because it's a paper aimed at women.
Sexism row sparked after ex-army boss says women should not serve on front line.
Yeah, it's a paper aimed at women. They deliberately aim the front page at women and try and do stories that women are interested in.
Do they actually say this? Have they made it clear this is a women's issue paper?
They set that out.
Not that I'm against it, of course.
Yeah, no, of course not. You wouldn't be. But they set that out as their agenda at the beginning.
OK, well, the purchaser will decide whether or not there is a market, a gap in the market for that. So we wish this paper a long and healthy life.
Yeah, well, we wish every paper a long and healthy life.
Of course
sadly,
we do,
the market does not dictate that is going to be the case, I think.
No.
That is the problem.
No.
We've got lots more going on. We've got Bob Bubka coming up a little bit later on in the show.
Bob Bubka.
The voice of golf here on TalkSport. The Masters gets underway in a few hours' time, so we'll get the SP from him. And, of course, he might tell a few stories about you and his previous encounters on the golf course as well. This is TalkSport. It's quite a good a text that I got in a bit earlier from Kevin in Belfast.
Yeah.
He said there may well be 4,000 holes in Blackburn, Lancashire now, but when the Beatles sang about it, there were only 3,000.
Well, there you go.
That's quite clever, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be an update, couldn't it?
Now, if you notice, there's an NBA game on. It is Cleveland against Indiana.
Ooh.
And it's 62-72 in favour of Indiana. So for all those NBA fans out there, I'll be keeping them updated with the score.
Well, the thing is, there's no point.
There's in the third quarter.
There's absolutely no point in keeping people updated on the score in a basketball match. Well, I'll tell you why. Because the score changes about every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And the way it goes in basketball matches, there's never a difference of more than about 8 or 9 points between the two teams.
That's not true.
And all they do is they all accumulate, both sides accumulate a percentage gain up to about 100, and then one team usually wins 117 to 115.
There's a 12-point difference now. It's now 75-63, so that's why I have to update the score, because the score's changing constantly.
That won't last very long. There's minimal interest in basketball in this country.
Well, you say minimal. Well, you say minimal. It's certainly a minority sport. But I wouldn't say minimal interest because, I mean, there's one player from Britain who plays in the NBA. Certainly during the Olympics, the English basketball team the British basketball team were quite well supported and did quite well, actually.
There's a bit of a fascination amongst sort of teenage boys about basketball because of the size of basketball players and the shorts they wear.
And the amount of money they make.
And in particular, money, mate. And in particular, the shoes they wear. I've got a pair of basketball boots.
Have you?
Which I bought at Nike.
Do they make them in your size?
Yeah, but
it amazes me.
I didn't know they were basketball boots.
Well, I thought they come up to your ankle.
No. Yeah, they do come up to your ankle. That's right.
Are they lace-ups?
Yeah, they are.
Because did you not have a pair
of boots?
When you were a child or sort of teenager, did you not have a pair of basketball boots? You know those kind of ones that were white laces and they were black and they had kind of I can't remember who made them.
No,
but they had like a
no. They were called bumper boots.
No, they weren't.
Yeah,
no,
they were.
I didn't call them that.
Yeah,
high tops, weren't they?
Anyway, the point I was going to make is a very good Fleet Street journalist called Oliver Holt.
Oh yeah,
writes a column every week now in the Mail on Sunday.
He used to be at the Mirror.
Used to be at the Mirror. That's right.
I used to work with him.
Yeah, of course you did. Yeah.
His mother's on Coronation Street.
His mother, indeed, is one of the longest-serving actresses on Coronation Street.
See, Bev Callard is now tweeting out all the time that she's fine.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, she is. But anyway, Ollie went to America recently to cover some sporting event. He decided to devote his column that week to the guy he says is the greatest sportsman in the world. And it's a basketball player, and I think his name is Steph Curry.
Steph Curry.
Yeah, does that mean anything to you?
Doesn't mean anything to me.
Well, he's the world's top basketball player. And it was interesting because I saw a panel of journalists talking about, what was going on.
I remember Steve Curry.
Well, I was about to say to you what was going on, and they all thought that he was talking about Steve Curry,
Right.
and Steve is an old colleague of mine from the Daily Express. He was a very, very...
Well, he's not just a colleague of yours.
Yeah.
I mean, there were other people that worked with him as well.
Oh, no, he was a big colleague of mine, Steve. And he was...
Steph Curry, here we go, plays for Golden State Warriors.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, nobody in this country's ever heard of him. Ollie wrote his column about him. As I say, these guys who were debating all this said, I mean, Steve Curry, Steve is now probably in his 70s.
I would imagine so.
Very experienced football writer for the Daily Express and leading man, probably covered, 10 World Cups and, 40 FA Cup finals and all that.
Yeah.
And I worked with him a lot. He was a very good friend of Sir Bobby Robson.
Oh, was he?
They know each other from their early days, and he was very close to him, yeah.
Did he ever write any stories about Bobby Robson which were, shall we say, unknown to many people?
All the time he's writing stories about... And Bobby just used to say, I didn't think you were going to write that, Steve. He said, Bobby, I'm a professional journalist. If you tell me things and they're interesting to the reading public, I have to publish them.
Right.
He said, I'll remember that in future.
Yeah, okay.
And then he'd ring him up and say, I'm going to sign this new player in Paris. Will you come with me, Steve?
Right.
And then he was amazed the next day. It was in the Daily Express,
Right.
Yeah.
Here's one from Daniel, who says, what a plank Mike Parry is. I'm in my early 20s and I love the NBA because it's an exciting sport, end-to-end the whole game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And what's the name of that chap?
Daniel.
And Daniel, have you ever saved up your money and got on a plane, gone to America to watch an NBA game? Or is it just one of these things that you admire from afar?
Well, you don't need to. I mean, it's like people who like the NFL. You don't absolutely have to go and go. But, I mean, if you can go and see it, then lots of people would love to do it. It's very difficult to get tickets for basketball games because the arena's normally not that
small.
big.
They're so small.
Right.
The score now is 79-70, by the way.
Thank you for keeping us updated.
That's the way. It piles up all the time. It's just a rubbish game.
Would you like to make a prediction on what the final score will be?
No, because I couldn't care less.
All right.
I'll say 112 to 104, OK?
112
That's my
to
prediction,
104.
yeah.
OK, all right, good. Now, Roy says they were called baseball boots, the things I was talking about, and I think he's right.
Baseball.
They were called baseball boots, even though they weren't actually baseball boots.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But they were called that, yeah.
Yeah, they probably were. Now then, I'll tell you what we need to talk about. We need to talk about all sorts of things, but, what?
Somebody's just sent me a picture of a dartboard with a bull's eye in the middle of it.
Oh, that's very good, isn't it? Yeah. How unusual.
How do you say that again?
The bullseye. Now then,
you said it right that time.
Now then, have you seen this latest health fad, which once again has been...
Do you not want to talk about Manchester City, by the way?
What about them?
Well, they did very well, didn't they?
I thought they did excellently well.
I mean, we are talking to Ian Bishop in the next hour. We can save it till then if you like.
Exactly. I never thought they were going to get battered
it wasn't much of a game.
by PSG anyway. I don't know why everybody got excited
about it. The big result
of
the night, surely, is Wolfsburg beating Real Madrid. Because we spoke to Ollie Knack this morning, right?
Yes.
Shortly after you left.
Yes.
And he was adamant. I mean, he was almost laughing down the phone when I said, well, surely Wolfsburg have played quite well this season. He went, oh, no, they're rubbish. They're down,
they are.
Mid-table. He said there's absolutely
terrible
no chance.
domestic season.
He's already been on Twitter saying he's going to have to eat humble pie later on this
morning.
Well,
not only that, but what I can tell you is that there is no way in the world Wolfsburg will get away with it back at the Bernabeu. They'll get beaten 4-0.
Well, very probably, but you never know.
Yeah, they will.
You never know.
Now then, have you heard about this new therapy, this new beauty and health therapy, which is being promoted by Gwyneth Paltrow?
Is this the bee stinging
Exactly.
thing? Yeah.
Which involves getting stung by a load of bees.
I meant to mention that to you last night.
Yeah.
Well, surely if bees are in terrible trouble, as far as you keep telling us, that they're kind of getting smaller and, they may be dying out,
That's right.
and it's all going to be a terrible crisis for the human race and the world and all that. Is that wise? Should you be deliberately provoking bees into stinging you?
Well, she says, I've been stung by bees. It's a 1,000-year-old treatment called apitherapy.
Yes.
People use it to get rid of inflammation and scarring, and I believe in it. So she lets these bees sting her. She says it's a very painful...
I bet it is, yeah. Have you ever been stung by a bee?
No.
Never?
I don't think so.
Really?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Well, I can't remember being stung by a bee, but I might have been little and stung by a bee.
Ever been stung by a wasp?
No, I haven't, no, fortunately. Really? I don't think I have.
So you've never been stung by anything, then?
I don't
never
think
been bitten by a horsefly?
No, definitely not.
So you've never actually felt the pain of an insect bite or a sting or anything?
No, I don't think so.
That's quite unusual.
I don't think so. When we were little...
Why do you think that is?
We were coming home from school, I don't know, we were coming home from school one day, and it was autumn, so all the brown leaves were on the ground, OK?
Brown leaves?
Yeah, from falling off the trees,
What, you mean in autumn?
In autumn, that's what I just said. The fall, as you might know it.
Yeah.
Now, what happened was, as we were walking along, my elder sister, and I think we were about like 6 and 7 at the time, or something like that, she was kicking the brown leaves up in the air. and she kicked a bee's nest.
Oh, good.
So it must have fallen out of the tree with the leaves or something like that.
Yeah.
And she got multiply stung.
Wow.
It was horrible.
And you were lucky not to have got picked up. Or maybe you've got some, because some people have actually got something in their blood or in their system.
Could be.
Which keeps, the bees. Because I generally don't get stung by them, but I have been stung in the past. I remember I was walking up to work once in my teenage years. Yeah. And I walked under a tree and I felt something dropping onto my head and I went to brush it off.
Yeah.
And it was a wasp. But it was like a dying wasp, and its stinger stuck into my finger, and my whole arm went numb.
Like what they call it, anaphylactic shock or something.
I think so, yeah. And I can't. The trouble is, at the time, I couldn't remember if that meant it was a good thing or a bad thing.
Yes.
Because sometimes they say if it makes your arm go numb, it means that actually you're quite allergic to them.
And what was that? That was a wasp.
That was a wasp. Yeah.
Hang on, let me just see if this is it. It says that the venom given out by bees and wasps has been cited by proponents of alternative medicine as a cure for many ailments, ranging from multiple sclerosis to wrinkled skin.
Yeah, well, part of the treatment that you mentioned earlier, which I can't remember the name of, what was the long word you used?
She calls it antipethary or something.
No, it was something to do with bees, isn't it?
Eh?
The word that you used, I can't remember what it was, but
I told you what it was.
I know. That's why I want you to repeat it, because part of that treatment doesn't have to be stinging of bees. It can be just ingesting honey. Because that's part of it as well. Because one of my kids has got very bad hay fever, and we've been told to try, because we've tried lots of things, to try this year, giving him some locally made honey.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Which apparently might make it easier for him.
Right.
Don't know if it's not going to work though.
Very, very good. The danger is of getting anaphylaxis shock.
Anaphylactic shock. Yeah, you said that already.
A life-threatening allergic reaction. Okay, that could be a problem. I mean, why would you let yourself get stung by bees if there's a risk that you go into like a coma?
Well, you'd have to check first of all whether or not you were likely to have that reaction. But I mean, tells you really that she hasn't got anything better to do.
It's called apitherapy.
Apitherapy, that's it. She's got more money than sense, basically, Gwyneth Paltrow. I quite like her though. I've got a bit of soft spot.
What film has she been in that's famous?
Well, she's closing Sliding Doors, I should say.
Sliding Doors, I never saw that.
No, that's a great film.
Yeah.
Why have you not seen that?
Don't know. It's all about like coming to a crossroads in life, isn't it? If you'd have got on that tube train, your life would have been different.
Exactly, because she gets on the train in the first scene, and she gets home, and her boyfriend's having sex with another girl, and she comes home unexpectedly and discovers them.
Right.
But in the second version, she doesn't get on the train.
Right.
And so she never discovers it.
Right.
And that's the difference.
Yeah.
And the question is, which one would you rather prefer to have?
Well, exactly, yes. Yeah. Yes.
Anyway, lots and lots more to come, including Bob Bubka, the voice of golf, coming up next on TalkSport.
The UEFA Europa League quarter-finals, live on TalkSport.
Perfect timing!
Tonight from 7, Mark Saggers brings you all the build-up as Klopp battles to keep Liverpool's European dream alive. Hear full match commentary of Borussia Dortmund versus Liverpool.
Magnificent goal from Liverpool!
The UEFA Europa League quarter-finals, live on TalkSport.
With Arnold Clark. It's about affordable motoring, it's about you.
Sky Bet. We're making betting less about the rookies, more about the masters. We're paying not 5, 6 or 7, but 8 places at the Masters before they tee off. For new and existing customers, we're paying 8 places each way. Sky Bet. It's betting better. 18 plus. Gambleaware.co.uk. Selected markets and eligibility restrictions. T's and C's apply. When the fun stops, stop.
I told him yesterday what I was thinking of doing. And when I'd finished, he just sat there. Then he said,
"Don't join the army."
I looked straight at him and said, "Don't what? Don't stand on my own 2 feet? Don't do something that actually matters? Don't learn new things? Don't become a better me?" Then he looked at me differently, like he'd finally understood.
To find out how to be a better you, search Army Jobs. Army, be the best.
If you've recently noticed that you're starting to lose your hair, there are a range of options open to you. You could have a hair transplant, as long as you're earning as much as a Premier League footballer. For the more thrifty amongst us, there's always the classic comb-over. Or if you really want to make a statement, why not go all out and get yourself a poodle perm wig? However, if you want to do something effective, you're going to need facts, not fiction. Regain for Men Extra Strength Scalp Foam contains minoxidil, which has been scientifically proven to help stop and even reverse hereditary hair loss, working deep down at the root. It can be used on a receding hairline, and the earlier you start using it, the higher your chances of success. You could even start seeing visible results in 16 weeks. And now Regain has an app that gives you support and advice to track your progress and maintain your twice-daily routine. Separate the facts from the fiction at regain.co.uk. Regain contains minoxidil. Always read the label.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
4. Straight down the middle. It went straight down the middle. Then it started to hook just a wee bit. And that's when my caddy lost sight of it. That little white pellet has never been found to this day. But it went straight down the middle.
This is Talk Sport. We are The Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. There will be Porkyvision later on in the show as well. And we've got lots and lots to do between now and for Alan Brazil Sports Breakfast. But what we've got to do right now, Mr. Parry, is talk to the voice of golf, the man himself, Mr. Bob Bubka.
Indeed.
Mr. Bubka, very good morning to you.
Well, I'm on mic with two mics. Boy, this is special.
It certainly is, Bob.
It really is, Bob.
Great to hear your dulcet tones.
Absolutely right. Actually, this is by special request, because lots of people said, wouldn't it be great to get Bob Bubka on with the two mics? And I'm not sure we've had you on for a very, very long time with the two of us. So what's the scene? What's the setting? What's going on out there?
Well, you know, you can literally feel the electricity in the air, even though it's going to be, 4, maybe till 8 tomorrow morning, about 12 hours away from the first ball being put in the air. And by the way, hitting the first tee shots tomorrow is going to be Gary player Jack Nicklaus. It is reported, and we certainly hope it's the case, Arnold Palmer will be on the first tee, really not feeling all that well, but said he was going to try and just be there. He's not going to hit a shot, but just the sight of Arnold Palmer at 86 years old on the first tee at Augusta National is something very, very special.
Well, I'll tell you what, Bob, the excitement's building up here as well, because we've got mass coverage in this country now, you know, through Sky and all that sort of thing. And am I right in thinking that Rory McIlroy, at a very, very young and tender age, really still at the start of his golfing career, regards this Masters as absolutely vital to his future, talking about falling too far behind the other, young bucks in the golfing business if he doesn't do something special at Augusta this time?
Well, there's a lot at stake for Rory McIlroy, Mike. If he were to win this Masters, only 5 people in history have won all 4 majors. Walter Hagen, Gene Sarazen, Jack Nicklaus, Tiger Woods, and Byron Nelson, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting the other name. So he's chasing history, and every year that goes by that he doesn't win the Masters, in 2011, he had a huge lead going to the back 9 on Sunday and let it slip away.
Yeah.
So, it's easy to say, oh, there's plenty more ahead. I remember when Sergio Garcia was 19. He finished second in the PGA Championship. 1999 to Tiger Woods. Everybody said, oh, don't worry, Sergio's going to win plenty of majors. Well, it's 17 years later, and he's still seeking that first major.
Yes, well, I mean, I was amazed to read a piece in The Guardian this morning. They're talking to Darren Clark about, the Ryder Cup later on this year. And he was saying that, he can't really explain why a European hasn't won the Masters since 1999.
Yeah.
And when it was a Lathabal. And I couldn't believe it was that long, to be honest.
Yeah, 17 years since a European has won. There is no real explanation for that. The odd thing about it also, when you think of the percentages, and Mike Parry's a big percentage man, I know that.
Yeah, about 33% most of the time.
when you think what a small percentage of players play left-handed versus right-handed, and then you look in 2010, left-hander wins. 2012, left-hander wins. 2014, left-hander wins. this is another even-numbered year.
Wow.
2016, could it be another left-hander?
And who's the top left-hander, would you say, if that was to be a continuing kind of situation? Who is at the top of that at the moment?
Well, you got to go with Bubba Watson. He's won it twice already, and he hits the ball 9 million miles. And, this golf course is kind of suited for him for the way he strikes the ball and everything about him. And he has 2 green jackets already in that locker of his, and that certainly takes a lot of pressure off.
What we really want to see, Bob, is a finish like, was it 96 when Faldo won his third one against the Great White Shark, and he was 7 behind, I think, wasn't he, in the last round, and just wore him down. And that's what we want to see. We want to see, because, of course, the Europeans in those days, Faldo, Ian Woosnam, was it Sandy Lyle? I mean, we just go, and the Spanish were going there, and they were taking one every other year, weren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. Europeans were dominating. Don't forget Seve Ballesteros, Jose Marie, Olafable. I mean, these are guys that it seemed like as soon as they showed up, they were the people that everybody was talking about. There's a couple of guys that fit that mold this year. I think Justin Rose has an excellent opportunity to get the job done. And maybe even a bigger surprise, a fellow by the name of Danny Willett, who just had a little baby boy a couple of weeks ago. He seems to be in a very happy place, and he's got a tremendous amount of talent. Would not be a huge surprise if Danny Willett gets the job done.
Well, one of the things I noticed today, as we were watching, just before watching the Par 3 tournament, which was great, as it always is, was a lot of the players seem to be filming themselves driving up to the Masters in Magnolia Lane. I don't know if I've seen that before. There was at least Graham McDowell put a piece of video out, and Jack Nicklaus put a piece of video out where one guy didn't recognise him at one point, and it's quite an interesting kind of new media development, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. That's a good observation on your part, but it is truly one of the most historic drives in the world of golf. I cannot think of another road. I would say the village of St. Andrews surpasses the drive down Magnolia Lane, but that's about the only other iconic place in the world of golf, and it's really quite exciting. I mean, everything is so impeccable here that you couldn't find a piece of litter out on that golf course if you tried. I mean, it seems like if somebody drops a gum wrapper, there's 5 or 6 people assigned to litter control that just immediately hover over that piece of litter, and it disappears. If a weed jumps up between the cracks of a paved road or something, boom, that weed doesn't have a long shelf life. They eliminate it very quickly. It's truly the most remarkable setting that you could ever have. And, hey, you guys know a lot about sports. Tell me what your thoughts are on this fact about the Masters. On Monday, 75,000 patrons. They are not allowed to call them spectators, patrons. Tuesday, 75,000. Wednesday, 75,000. When I drive to the golf course tomorrow morning, 25,000 for the next 4 days. The only sporting event that I ever heard of in my life where 3 times as many people come for the practice as they do for the actual competition.
It's incredible, isn't it? I suppose that's because there's more access, isn't there, when it's all practice. Bob, whenever I speak to you about golf, I always have to raise the subject of Tiger Woods because your relationship with him was so close for so many years. What is the news on whether we're ever going to see Tiger in any sort of role as an influential golfer again in his lifetime?
Well, great question. I'm happy to report Tiger Woods did show up at the past champions dinner last night. Told several of the attendees, and you can only be a winner of the green jacket to go to that dinner. But Tiger disclosed that he's actually hitting drivers now. The back is feeling better and better. Tiger has vowed that he will not come back from this injury until he is 100% certain that he will not do any additional damage. And I think he's being very smart about this decision. Even if he doesn't hit a golf ball in competition all of this year, next year he can come back. He'll be 41. A lot of people are talking about the fact that Phil Mickelson this year at 45 has a great chance of winning. And don't forget, we're celebrating the 30th anniversary of Jack Nicklaus winning for the last time. Sure. And he was 46 years old back in 1986.
Yeah, that was quite sweet watching Gary Player get a hole-in-one, wasn't it, on the old par 3?
It was amazing.
At 80 years old,
yeah.
Incredible. Absolutely incredible. And I had a chance to talk with Gary recently, and he tells a great story about he got a call once from Elvis Presley, and Elvis said, "Gary Player, I really want to meet you." And Gary said, "Elvis Presley, I want to really meet you." So the two of them got together, and Elvis said, "What's the secret, Gary, to playing golf? I want to play better golf." And Gary said, "Elvis, it's all in the hips. You just got to sway those hips." Elvis said, "If it's all in the hips, I'm going to be the best golfer that ever lived."
Yeah, absolutely. Considering he got banned from American television for swiveling his hips, it was not surprising. Oh, well, a fantastic 4 days ahead of you, Bob.
Absolutely incredible. There's nothing like it. I can't wait to get up at 1:30 this morning and go on with Mr. Alan Brazil.
Absolutely.
I do that while I'm sleeping. I hope he never finds that out. But, that's just the way it is. And then bright and early coverage all day long, not only on TalkSport, but on TalkSport 2. And it's an honor and a privilege to be in this position to do it.
Brilliant. Well, Bob, delightful to talk to you. And I know you're going to be pretty tired by the end of the weekend, so I'm glad we got you at the start. You're going to go and get some decent night's sleep. Bob Bubka there, TalkSport's voice of golf, of course. We'll be talking about Masters golf throughout the weekend here on TalkSport. We've got lots more coming up. We've got Ian Bishop in the next hour. This is TalkSport. TalkSport, we are the two mics. Lots more coming up in the next hour. It's Porkyvision night as well, of course. Lots of people are eagerly anticipating what you'd like to come out with. Ian Bishop, who's a former Manchester City player, amongst other things, is going to be talking to us about how he thought they got on. And lots of tweets and texts to read out as well. Here's one from William, who says, "Who needs the government to issue health alerts when Porky is one step ahead of everyone else in medicine?"
Quite right.
And Steve says, "Has dear old Bob Bubka caught Tim Peake's disease?" saying that's a great question from Porky.
Yeah, well, I ask great questions, and great correspondents like Bob Bubka do appreciate being asked great questions so they can expand their knowledge.
Yeah.
You ask them dopey questions.
No,
and they can't respond to dopey questions.
No, the purpose of my questions, and I think you said it was a great. I think he said it was a great observation of mine that they were all filming themselves going up Magnolia Drive.
You mean you watched a bit of telly and noticed something?
No, it was on Twitter actually. I mean, I know that you're not really au fait with new media, and you struggle to switch on your machine.
I'm au fait with all areas of the media.
What's going on with it? But it was just very interesting to be inside Jack Nicklaus's car as he drove up past all the security people, especially when one of them didn't recognise him, and it was quite interesting. But what I was going to say was, when you went up to play golf, presumably when Bob and you were covering opens and things like that, the longest drive you had, of course, was the one up there, wasn't it?
The what?
The one you drove up there.
No, I never drove up there.
No, you didn't?
No, I used to fly.
No.
I'll tell you, last time I was at Atlanta, I was with President...
What's Atlanta got to do with it?
Sorry, it's Augusta, I beg your pardon, Augusta.
You've never been to Augusta?
Sorry?
You've never been to Augusta?
I certainly have.
Well, you've been to the Masters?
No, I'll tell you exactly the story.
Well,
I think I've told you this before.
We've only got 20 seconds.
I was there with Bill Clinton, and he was doing a rally there.
You were in Augusta, Georgia?
In Augusta, Georgia.
Are you sure?
I tried to go round to the golf club to have a look at it, and the moment my car passed a barrier about a mile from the clubhouse, all these alarms went off, lights flashed, barriers came up and down, and the security got me within 15 seconds.
Well, that was pretty stupid, wasn't it?
They don't allow anybody in there at all.
Dear me. Well, you haven't ever told me that story before, but we should explore it a little bit later on.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Talk Sport.
This is Talk Sport. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. Tomorrow, of course, it's the Porky Quiz, and it's going to be on Bobby Charlton.
That's it.
In honour of him having the stand named after him, and also in honour of our trip to Manchester.
Indeed.
Which I hope you're ready for Saturday.
I certainly am. Yeah. And also, I'm going to adopt a new social behavioural policy for Manchester.
Oh, you're going to start being nice to me?
No, not necessarily, although I will be providing you're civilised, but it takes the form of bladderation in moderation.
Oh, yeah.
And
is this your new mantra?
My new mantra is bladderation in moderation.
Yeah.
And I'll be starting up this weekend on a trip to Manchester by pursuing my new health kick.
First time for everything.
Yeah, my new health kick.
You're looking much better, actually.
Which is called the beer diet.
All right, the beer diet.
The beer diet.
Right.
I haven't had a glass of wine for over 2 weeks.
Really?
I've decided that the only fluids I want coursing through my veins are beer, relatively weak alcoholic content compared to the concentration.
Did you set yourself a limit of number of pints or anything like that?
I won't be drinking pints. I'll be having a bottle of beer here and there.
Well, you mean like a half pint? I thought you said people that drank half pints should be exiled from all public houses in the country.
Well,
have you changed that view?
We don't classify a bottle of beer as a half pint, do we? We classify it as a bottle, you see what I mean?
Well, yes, but I mean, it's still technically half a pint,
Well, it might be, but it's a bottle of beer, and I've got a beer. And it's usually a Beck's or a Heineken.
Well, it doesn't have to be. I mean,
it doesn't have to be.
Very, very wide variety of beers available.
The salt. Oh, I tell you what I like.
What about Corona with a little lime in the top?
No, I don't like that. That's for posers and poseurs. I like the...
Posers and poseurs.
I like the Peroni, which is the Italian one.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Now, listen, I want to talk to you about the vagaries of showbiz fame, OK?
Yeah, OK.
So, old, what's his name? Has had a hard time lately.
Vernon Kay.
Because he's got involved in another dispute about
with
whether or not...
Page 3 girl.
Page 3 lady, who's a very attractive lady.
It's very much a he said, she said, isn't it?
It's a he said, she said, and who's been exchanging tweets too. But nevertheless, it says here, this is a report from tomorrow morning's tabloid newspapers, sex text love rat.
Yeah.
Isn't that a bit of a hackneyed old phrase to use in tabloid newspapers these days?
If the cap fits, it's as good a one as any, isn't it?
OK. Sex text love rat.
Because even if it's not true this time, it was true last time.
It was true last time.
So technically it's still true.
Sex text love rat Vernon Kay has been dealt yet another blow after his new ITV show Drive crashed and burned.
Oh, yes.
It says that Tuesday's first episode, billed as ITV's answer to Top Gear, got just 1.9 million viewers. Compared to the BBC hits 5.6 million average.
Funnily enough, this show has completely passed me by. You know, I don't watch an awful lot of TV anyway, but I was watching, I think yesterday morning, I switched on Good Morning Britain briefly to have a look and see what was going on. Because Piers is not on it at the moment, so I tend not to watch him when he's not on it. And they had a whole completely different set of people on it.
That's right.
But they went to the weather woman, and she had apparently been on this show the night before.
Oh, okay.
And they were making all these jokes about it.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what they were talking about because I hadn't seen the show.
Well, apparently what it is they set up just a load of sort of dummy races, and celebrities, so-called celebrities or whatever, race against each other. But it says that a programme on the opposite channel about an investigation into autism, I think it was, got 2.5 million viewers. No, hang on, sorry, I beg your pardon. Autism drama, The A Word. So it's a drama, but it's got some content in it which involves an autistic person.
Yes.
Autism drama,
Yeah, now that I am aware of, because I've seen people writing about that.
On BBC One at the same time, drew 5.3 million. That's nearly 3 times as many. So anyway, look, there's that. And then the other thing I was going to tell you about was having a look at some research papers on show business today. The what's the name of the guy? Sasha Baron Cohen, is it?
Sasha Baron Cohen.
Is that his full name?
It is. He's the guy that did Borat.
Yeah, he did Borat, but he lately he's done Grimsby.
Yes.
It says Grimsby.
That's his new film.
Has been an unmitigated disaster.
Has it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, not everything he does is brilliant, I have to say. I mean, I saw The Dictator, which was the one he did after Borat, which was sort of loosely based on a mixture of Muammar Gaddafi and Saddam Hussein.
That's right, yeah.
And it was meant to be a comedy. And it was kind of funny in bits, but then it wasn't a film I could watch all the way through.
It says here, his masterful prankery, that's a sort of word we'd use, isn't it, in our show? His masterful prankery, as Ali G and Borat established him as the king of shock comedy.
Yeah.
But Sasha Baron Cohen's latest film, Grimsby, is a huge flop.
Are you sure?
Yeah. And it says, where did it all go wrong? And then what it says a bit of what you've just said. When he does this very cutting and stinging comedy where real people think that he's being abusive and rude to them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like in the The original one, based
when he did Ali G, you mean?
No, Kazakhstan.
Oh, Borat.
Borat, that's right. Yeah. You know, I mean, in that, he pretended he was a real TV person, didn't he? And asked banal questions of people and all that kind of stuff. He asked one guy, I never saw the film, but I saw one, and he said, why have you married a woman who's so ugly and all that kind of stuff? And people thought it was a serious question.
Right.
Anyway, what it says that because the shock factor became too sort of, predictable, he had to change to other things. So after Borat came then came Borat, the Kazakh knave. Borat, that's him. The Kazakh knave touring backwoods American. His creator's career-making film. Geography was in play again. But then it says, one problem was that since the start, he's been trying to outrun nature. Like Ali G, Borat's success left the character used up. And the same thing happened to Bruno Gerhard, who was apparently his gay Austrian fashion journalist.
Yeah.
So finally, in an attempt at sustainability, Baron Cohen quit the prank interviews altogether, first with Dictator, which was a half-funny scripted comedy, and now with Grimsby, which has been an almighty flop. So it says that
they're saying that it's grossed 6.8 million in North America, 19 million in other territories, that's dollars, for a total of 25.9 million against a budget of 35 million. So it hasn't got its budget back yet.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Well, that is a flop, isn't it?
Well, I suppose
in Hollywood terms.
In Hollywood terms, it might be, yeah. But I think it's still being seen by quite a lot of people.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, OK. Now then, I'll tell you what I want to talk to you about. I want to talk to you about, did you know... I mean, this is an amazing thing. This came from historical... I've been researching a few historical papers today, okay? A few historical papers. But a guy called Joe Medicine Crow has died.
Joe Medicine Crow?
Yeah.
I'm not familiar with who that is.
I'm going to tell you in a minute.
Yeah.
He was 102. And can you believe that his dad was Custer's Last Stand's chief Indian scout?
Was he? So he was on Custer's side?
He was on Custer's side.
Oh, OK.
Isn't that amazing?
So he was a sort of a turncoat then?
No, he wasn't a turncoat. What happened was he was the reason
surely if he was a Native American or an Indian in those days working for Custer.
Nah.
He was a turncoat.
No, it wasn't a turncoat. Joe Medicine Crow.
Yeah.
The hint is in the name, Crow. He was from the Crow tribe.
Yeah.
Now the Crow tribe were the first American tribe to do a deal with the striped legs.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean they're not turncoats.
No, they're not turncoats.
Why not?
They decided to live in harmony with the white man who was the
invader. They would be considered to be turncoats, surely.
Well, hang on.
By the other Indian nations.
I would consider them to be the most sensible race of Native Americans.
Well, you might say that.
Because they decided, instead of fighting them like what's his name in his Cadillac?
What?
Hey, boy, take me back. I want to ride in Geronimo's Cadillac, OK?
Geronimo.
So instead of Geronimo, who never stopped fighting the American army, Joe Medicine Crow's dad became a scout for Custer, right? And fought alongside him in the Battle of Little Bighorn, which is in July 1876.
OK.
Imagine that. Imagine being able to say, and this guy has just died, and he was 102.
Yeah.
But imagine being able to say, oh, yeah, my old fella fought alongside Custer at the Battle of Little Bighorn.
Right.
I mean, that's living history.
Well, I suppose
That is living history.
Well, I mean, that's what history is, isn't it?
Sometimes...
I mean, everybody's related to somebody. I mean, you'd love to be related to somebody famous, wouldn't you?
Well, hang on.
But that's the trouble, because you're not.
No.
You're not related to anybody famous.
No, talk about war heroes. Isn't it amazing? If my father was still alive today...
Yes.
In which case he would be 90.
Right.
He'd be 90, right?
Uh-huh.
He'd be able to say to me, I remember on D-Day... the beaches.
Yeah.
Because he was there.
Well, that's what you say.
I mean, this is living... What do you mean,
well, you
what
always
I say?
That. You always say that he was there, but I mean...
He was on the D-Day invasion.
I have no reason to believe that.
I don't care whether you believe it or not.
You haven't provided any evidence at all.
Well, where'd you get the evidence from? What do you want me to do?
I presume he's got a warrant card. He's got some kind of
his naval record.
He's got a he'll have a naval record.
But he died 30 years ago.
My dad had his demob papers.
Actually,
when he
died 35 years ago.
My dad had his demob papers when he was let go from the RAF.
And have you got them?
My mother's got them, yeah.
Right, OK, so that's fine.
I've seen them. He showed them to me.
I feel grateful for you. Well, my father showed me his medals.
Has he?
And one of them was the D-Day landing campaign.
Well, where are they then?
Well, I suppose my mother's got them now.
Well, why don't you get one of them?
What for?
Well, so I can see it.
I don't have to boast about my father's
Well,
achievements in the war.
Well, you're always boasting about it.
What I'm saying is, it is amazing to find that you can be in connection with living history.
Yeah.
Living history.
But you would like to be part of something bigger than that, wouldn't you? You'd like
what
to
do you
be,
mean?
You know, you'd like your father to have been more famous than that. So you could say that he was the man that shot
Not
somebody
at
or
all.
other.
I was very happy with what my father's achievements were all about.
Yeah.
Crow country in North America once sprawled over 30 million acres of Wyoming and Montana.
You see the time, by the way.
Stretching all the way to Canada.
Yeah.
Today, the reservation, 2.3 million.
It's 110 to 96 now to
Well, I've told you how it's going to end. It'll end 117, 112. I've told you already.
You said it was 112 to 106, I think.
No, I didn't. No.
Yeah.
No.
112, 104 I've got.
Okay, 112, 104. Well, that'll be very close anyway.
Yeah, all right, we'll let you know. This is Talk Sport.
It's the fastest, it's the strongest, it's the toughest league in rugby. It's the first Utility Super League. Every Thursday afternoon at Drive on Talk Sport. Join Durham and Goffey as they tackle all the build-up and pre-match anticipation of another massive weekend of hard-hitting Super League action. Don't miss Durham and Goffey's Super League Showdown every Thursday afternoon at Drive from 4 on Talk Sport with Dacia, proud sponsor of Rugby League.
I'd wanted to tell Ellie for ages, so I just came out with it. Then she said, "Don't join the army." I sat there really calmly and said, "Don't do what, Elle? Don't leave this place? Don't make a difference in the world? Don't find out what I'm capable of? Don't become a better me?" Then she gave me this stupid smile. That's when I knew she got it.
To find out how to be a better you, search Army Jobs. Army. Be the best.
This little piggy went to Asda. This little piggy chose newborn. This little piggy chose Supreme Protection. And this little piggy chose Peppa Pig First Pants. But all the little piggies got 3 packs of Little Angels nappies for just £10 and cried wee, wee, wee all the way home. Asda. Save money. Live better.
Selected stores and lines subject to availability. Other sizes available. £3.75 each.
If you fancy a flutter on the football, a gamble on the golf, a double on the darts, or a treble on the tennis, you're in luck. Get closer to the action every weekend with Betway's Man in the Know on the Weekend Sports Breakfast with Georgie Bingham and Mickey Quinn. Bringing you all the form on the football, the going at Goodwood, the tries at Twickenham and the overs at the Oval. Every Saturday and Sunday morning from 7 on TalkSport with Betway. Bet the responsible way.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Are you going to Scarborough Fair? Parsley, sage, rosemary and thyme. Remember me to one who lives there. She once was a true love of mine.
You're not going to be killing off any more rock stars tonight, are you?
No, not killing off any more rock stars, no. No, you know what that is about? Do you know what that is about?
Well,
now, you claim that you're into the cooking kitchen mode all the time, okay?
No, I don't claim anything
Yeah,
of the
you
sort.
do. You're always picking out pictures of...
I enjoy cooking. What's wrong with that?
Yeah, you enjoy cooking, yeah, okay.
What's wrong with that? You don't enjoy cooking because you can't cook.
Yeah, I can cook, and I do.
Can't cook, won't cook. What was the last thing you cooked?
Dear me, you just keep going on and on and on.
Well, no, you just said I can cook, so
Right.
why don't you just tell me what you cooked?
The last thing I cooked was a spring cabbage.
A spring cabbage?
Yeah, because I love greens.
How did you cook it?
Well, how do you think I cooked it?
I think you boiled it.
Yeah, of course I did. Because that's how most people cook spring cabbage.
Not true.
Now then, let me just tell you this, right?
Go on.
I have decided to help you out because those recipes that you do and those dishes that you put on pictures in Twitter are always usually foreign stuff, right?
Foreign stuff?
Yeah.
Well, I don't regard it as foreign stuff.
Well,
I just regard it as food.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
delineate between English food and foreign food.
Right, well, I'm going to help you out.
Okay.
What I've done is I've actually got an ingredient for you here, which I'm now going to suggest you put in all those things that you cook in future. It will make you a healthier person.
Is that
this
right?
is for you.
What is it? Let's see. Rosemary.
Yep.
Are you joking?
No.
You're giving me some dried rosemary.
I've given you a tub of dried rosemary.
Do you think I don't have any rosemary?
Well, I don't know whether you have or not. Have
Do you remember that picture I put out of the lamb kebabs that I had on Easter Sunday?
Yes.
And you might have noticed they were covered with some greenery.
No, I didn't
They were
notice.
covered with rosemary.
Were they?
Yeah, fresh rosemary, which I grow in my garden.
Ah, but I bet you haven't got that in your apartment in London.
I have actually, because I always bring some with me.
Oh, do you? Okay,
Yeah.
well, I've got
I
you some
take a
more.
little sprig. Well, that's very kind of you.
I've got you some more.
Rosemary's
Now-
very good, particularly good with lamb.
Yeah, very good with lamb. Now, this is because I have seen some...
Is this safe to open? You haven't... Oh, it's sealed. That's good.
It's sealed.
Because,
It's
I mean,
sealed.
you have to worry about some of the shops you visit.
No,
you know.
no, it's sealed. Now, this is because I have been reading some culinary research papers. Scientists believe they've
Cookbooks.
found the secret ingredient...
Oh, that's lovely, isn't it? Smell that.
Yeah.
It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's really good with lamb. Put it on a lamb chop.
Yes, there you go. You're absolutely right. Now then, scientists believe they've found the secret ingredient to health and longevity, far from being just an accompaniment to roast lamb or a flavour enhancer in soups, rosemary could be an elixir of life that helps people to live to 100 and beyond.
I'm not sure I want to live that long, to be honest.
Consumption of the herb may also boost your memory as you get older.
No, I could do with that.
Help ward off dementia. Experts are to investigate whether rosemary is behind the remarkable good health of the residents of Acchiaroli.
This is in Italy, right?
Yeah, that's right. Acchiaroli.
Yeah, the Italians use rosemary a lot.
Hang on, Acchiaroli near Salerno in Italy.
Right.
Now, get this.
That's in the Bay of Naples, isn't it?
The Bay of Naples. Now, get this. The coastal village is home to around 1,000 people, but 300 of them who are still living are over the age of 100.
Yeah.
How about that?
I know.
That is incredible.
Must be a big queue at the post office.
That is incredible. Do you know, I bet some of those guys must have known, what was his name? Not
Who?
Franco.
Mussolini.
Mussolini. They must have known Mussolini.
Well, they might have known, they've been alive at the same time as Mussolini.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Right, now doctors have descended on this community because I think it's so unusual, right? They say that the group of 300 who are over 100 years of age are mostly free of heart disease, heart conditions, and there is no signs of Alzheimer's. How about that?
Yeah, but you see, the trouble with all of these types of studies is you can never be sure what other factors there are in place, can you? Because it might be because of something to do with, the olive oil that's in their diet. Well, might be something to do with their more relaxed lifestyle. Might be something to do with the fact that, their memories seem to be better because they haven't got so much to remember.
Well, it says here, whilst the fresh vegetables, olive oil and fish are all part of the Mediterranean diet, like a lot of other Italian people, and those ingredients are renowned for boosting health, researchers want to find out why this village has such a phenomenal number of elderly people, and they suspect one answer may be the extensive use of rosemary in their cooking, because on the edge of their town, their village, there are acres and acres of rosemary fields.
Right.
The herb is liberally applied to healthy grilled fish, stews and pasta dishes in the region.
Yes.
It grows abundantly in the area.
Well, maybe we should take some of this home as well, or buy yourself some rosemary as well, and use it to cook with whatever you cook, you know?
Well, it could be. Now,
because you may be more in need of living longer, obviously, because of what's going on with your heart complaint and your state of your general, body and the state of your memory. I mean, you're the one that seems to me to be more in need of this than I am, actually.
We might have some news on that towards the end of the week.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Now, what I'm saying is, if you mix this with a scientific journal that I've got, it reveals that there's a compound in rosemary oil called...
rosemary?
No, it's strange. It's called cineol, but it's called cineol 1.8. And cineol 1.8 may boost a chemical in the brain called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine,
really?
That's it, acetylcholine.
Okay.
Which can help prevent dementia, right? And
well, I think you should start taking it now, because it might be already setting in. Your dementia.
Do you know where all this came from?
Where?
Because there's a very big connection between Italy and America.
Yeah.
You know what they call it, the old country.
Yeah.
All those guys in Long Island, the old country and all
New
that
Jersey,
kind of stuff.
the Sopranos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened was a load of scientists went back to the old country, had origins in Italy, from the University of Maryland, which I suppose is the University of Washington, D.C., really, isn't it?
Well, no, it'd be Baltimore, wouldn't it?
Well, Baltimore, that's right, yeah. And suggests that long-term daily intake of rosemary can prevent thrombosis, and the herb has been linked to reducing stress as well as preventing diabetes.
Wasn't there a Thin Lizzy song called
it's all
Rosemary?
There. A Rosemary? I don't know.
Wasn't there a Thin Lizzy song?
I know a Rosemary song.
Yeah.
And
sing it.
my love grows like my rosemary knows, and nobody knows but she. It was, what was the group called?
I don't know.
I'm a lucky fella.
That doesn't mean you have to sing every song.
I want to tell you
all right, we'll see if we can find it.
I love her tenderly.
Let me read you this, right?
It was called Love Grows.
Oh, okay.
Because love grows like my rosemary
I've told
goes.
you, people start complaining you're singing too much.
They like
Stephen Whittington says this. He says, hi, great result last night, history in the making. I presume he's talking about Manchester City. My youngest son and I are City fans and will be going next week, apart from my wife and I are currently at Gatwick Airport flying out to St. Lucia for our eldest son's wedding. Really? I know that not going to St. Lucia so as I can go to the Etihad next week is out of the question. My dilemma is this. Our son's wedding is next Tuesday at 4 o'clock. Taking into consideration the time difference, City will be kicking off whilst we're on the beach for the ceremony, so I won't even be able to watch it if I can find a bar showing it. I need your help in getting around it.
Well, that's all very interesting. You know why people go and get married in St. Lucia, don't they?
Why?
Don't you? It's so cheap.
Well, it's not that cheap.
It is, yeah. No, it's
well,
much
you mentioned this, that this is a new trend, isn't
yeah,
it? Because,
absolutely.
Because they get everybody else to pay for the stay and all the rest of it. But it's a bit of a thing to dump your friends with, though, isn't it? You have to come to St. Lucia.
Who's that from again?
It's a guy called Steve.
Well, Steve, thanks for sending us a note, mate, but I'm afraid you've exposed yourself as a cheapskate because what happens is, instead of going through all the trouble and expense of organising a wedding in this country, which is now very expensive...
Well, they're going to their oldest son's wedding, so if they're traditionalists, they won't be paying for it, will they? Because it's supposedly the father of the bride that pays for the wedding.
Yeah, well, okay. In that case, it could be the bride's parents have decided to get out to St. Lucia and do it, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's so cheap. You just fly out there on a budget flight sort of aeroplane.
No, I'm not sure it's that cheap to fly to Caribbean.
And get bladderated. Yeah, but the problem is the guests pay for themselves. What I'm saying is, if you organise a very, lavish reception in this country, you are talking £1,000 a head. I mean, you are talking big money.
You can't pay £1,000 a head, surely.
You can, of course you can.
Well, I suppose you can, but I mean, I'm obviously got an interest in this because my daughter will be getting married at some point.
Oh, you better start saving, pal.
In the next few years. No, I've told her I'm not paying for it.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I'm not told her that.
Oh, that's a really supportive father.
I've told her I'm not paying for it. No, because I don't believe in it. I paid for my own wedding, and there's no reason why she can't pay for hers.
Yeah, but hang on, man. You paid for your own wedding when you were running quite a successful business in New York City. You had the money.
Yeah.
Well, your daughter's only just arrived in this country.
Well, then maybe she can't afford to get married until she's got the money.
Well, maybe she can't. That's absolutely true.
Why should I be, handing out thousands of pounds so that she can have a big party with all her friends?
What a miserable and mean approach to your fatherly responsibilities.
No, it's not at all miserable.
That's dreadful. What a Scrooge-like character you are.
That's not true.
Emma's a lovely girl. Lots of people know. They've seen a picture of her.
It's called being a responsible parent.
No, it's
you know nothing about that.
I know everything about the fact that you prefer to spend money on £75 bottles of champagne than bring happiness to your daughter.
Yeah, but I'm not going to buy 75 bottles of £75 champagne to give to 75 people when she can pay for it herself. How about this from...
God, how disgraceful.
I don't think it is disgraceful. You know nothing about parenting. Steve says this. The last thing Porky cooked was the books. # offshore plank account.
Oh, that's very nice.
I'm surprised your name hasn't cropped up yet in the old papers from Panama, by the way. Have you seen there's quite a few stars now on the front pages of the papers?
It's all rubbish. Not doing anything wrong, not breaking any laws.
No, you don't know that.
Well,
you don't know that.
No, so far none of them have been accused of breaking any laws.
Well,
it's just been accused
UEFA have had their offices raided. The Icelandic Prime Minister has resigned.
Yeah.
There's talk of the Brinks-Mat robbers having had an account with these people. I think there's quite a lot of criminality going on. You will see that I will be proved right.
I know nothing about criminality.
No, of course you don't. This is Talk Sport.
She ain't got no money, her clothes are kind of funny, her hair is kind of wild and free. Oh, boy, love flows where my Rosemary goes, and nobody knows how.
See? Get the connection?
I remember the song.
Yeah.
I remember the song.
What were they called? What was that group called?
Well, a lot of people are texting in and saying it was Edison Lighthouse.
It is Edison Lighthouse.
But it doesn't sound like Edison Lighthouse.
It was Edison Lighthouse. I think they only ever made one record, and I think...
Oh, do you know what? I'm thinking of Lighthouse Family. That's
the Lighthouse Family, yeah. It was Edison Lighthouse. I think they ever made one record, and I think the guy behind it was Jonathan King.
Oh, possibly.
Who, at the time, I believe, was a Cambridge University student. Who suddenly happened upon music because he had a talent for arranging gigs at Cambridge University, you know what I mean?
Right.
And thought, hang on, I know how to make this work. And then he invented all those sort of bubblegum groups, like, you talk about the Archies and all that.
One a week, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Absolutely.
Incredible. Now, a couple of different views coming in on the old wedding front. Here's one from Zach in Plymouth, who's texted into 81089. Says, I'm getting married soon, and we refuse to let my fiance's dad to pay for the wedding. Both of our parents have contributed a small financial donation instead. Father of the bride's paying for weddings is a thing of the past.
Right.
However, Bob says, I agree with Mike Parry regarding your daughter's forthcoming wedding. Any proud father would offer unlimited financial support.
Exactly.
Well, you're totally wrong about that, Bob. And frankly, what you do with your daughter is entirely up to you. What I do with mine is entirely up to me.
I've told my niece, that when she gets married, I would be very happy to, give as much financial support as possible. Although her parents
that's very kind of you.
Are in a position
and I'm sure she'd be
to
very
do
grateful.
it, I would like to contribute as part of the family.
Why don't you just buy her a nice present?
And I think that's part of my duty. By the way, just for a second, I've got an update on that village. Right, all these people live to over 100.
Oh yeah,
300 of them over 100. I told you what the village was called, didn't I? It's the residents of Aki Aroli near Salerno. Unfortunately, the mayor's not amongst the number. He got shot by the mafia.
which is not really something to laugh at, but for some reason it seems funny.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, I suppose there's not much point eating a lot of rosemary if you're going to end up getting assassinated by the local, black hand, whatever they call it.
Exactly. Yeah. Bit of bad luck, that really, isn't it? You know, not much point really is there living in a village where you can survive till 105 if along the way, you know, you copper a belly full of lead.
Yeah. Well, maybe that's one of the reasons that there's so many people living to an old age there, because they don't worry about crime. Because you know, in some of these villages where they're protected, if you know what I mean, then there's no stress for
Another fascinating fact is that Ernest Hemingway, you know, we were trying to remember the name of his books last night.
Yeah.
Ernest Hemingway went to stay there for 3 weeks after he completed the writing and submitting the manuscript of one of his most famous books, The Old Man and the Sea.
The Old Man and the Sea. It's funny you say that, actually, because what I was going to say was, I was listening to something today when I was driving around, and Hemingway's name came up. And suddenly they reeled off all these books, all of which I suddenly recognised.
Yeah, as
I couldn't think of one of them last night.
Yeah.
Very strange.
I know.
Rob says this, Porky's so out of touch, the so-called man of the people, St. Lucia, there are no cheap holidays there.
St. Lucia.
Hashtag plank.
Well, my family go there all the time, and I can agree with that. They go on a Virgin plane, right, and they go upper class.
I mean, to be honest, there's very little cheap holidaying to be done anywhere in the world these days.
I totally agree.
You know?
They go on upper class, right, and they go to St. Lucia.
Who's this you're talking about?
I'm talking about my,
your sort of immediate family?
Well, I'm talking about my 2 sisters and brothers-in-law.
Right. Why don't you go with them?
Well, because I've not got time, to be honest. And they sometimes...
I'll give you a couple of weeks off.
They sometimes go with my niece, right?
Yeah.
So maybe 5 of them.
You would enjoy it. You should go.
And the last time they went, I remember, and I think it was for 10 days, it was 30 grand.
For how many of them?
5.
5, yes, £6 a piece.
It is very expensive.
It's a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, it is, yeah.
I mean, and people are having to pay out, even people who you would think couldn't afford to pay out quite as much as that.
That's right.
But certainly if you go for a 2-week holiday that involves getting on a plane and involves going to a hotel, you're probably looking at least at $2,000 a piece,
No, I totally agree. I get really fed up, with the finances of this country. Do you know what I found out today?
What did you find out?
Do you know what a PFI deal is?
PFI?
Yeah.
Yeah, Private Finance Initiative.
Yes, and do you know what that means?
It means that basically the public gets to pay an awful lot of money into a scheme, which is to some extent supported by private funding. The private funding people then get to take all the profits out, and the public get left with the debt. That's how it works.
It's even worse than that. It's even worse that way. What these politicians do is to
make
one
of the worst ideas of all time.
And by a factor of times 1,000. Yeah. What the politicians? It all started in the Gordon Brown era. The genius chancellor. Managed to nearly bankrupt the country. The idea is, but it goes on to today, because any politician who can see an advantage in not having to spend money or borrowing money will do it, even though they have different political philosophies. So what happens is, let's build a load of hospitals. Oh, yeah, good idea. We'll save a bit of money from the vast amount of taxes that we take off the people. Oh, no. There's nothing to spare. Go out and borrow a few billion.
But it's like the way they run the railways as well. Yeah. People are making money hand over fist running the railways, which are being run into the ground. Yeah. And these privateers, for want of a better word, are making all the money. And we're having to pay for it all.
Oh, the idea on the railways is that, they don't make profits. They just handle the running of the railway.
Yeah, right.
You want to see the charges they charge for running the railways. But anyway, on the PFI, so it's... I tell you, I'll go and borrow a few billion, right? And then build 3 hospitals, right? And then the hospitals have money to run them each month, right? And then half of that money is then used to pay off the debt for building the hospital from the taxpayer.
And then the taxpayer leases usually the actual structure of the building.
That's right.
For a period of years, like 10 years, and then pays a mortgage on it effectively, which gives more billions back to the people who have put the money in the first place.
And do you know what they write into the deal?
What?
That the servicing of the building also remains the property of the people who built it, so that when a light bulb goes, you can only replace the light bulb by ringing up the people who built your building, and they replace it at a cost of £7 instead of 70p.
Yeah.
That's the great fiddle. Listen to this here. Every adult in Britain faces a debt of more than £4,000 each to pay for the controversial PFI funding scheme to rebuild schools, hospitals and public buildings.
Yeah.
Latest figures show private companies are owed... I mean, you'll faint when I read you this now. Latest figures show private companies are owed over £209 billion to be paid in the next 35 years as a result of...
by the government? owed by the government.
By the government, which has got to be drawn off the taxpayer, right?
Marvellous.
£209 billion from the public purse as a result of more than 700 private finance initiatives. By the time the contracts have all been paid in the year 2049/50, they will have cost £307 billion,
crazy, isn't it?
which is more than 5 times the £57 billion the buildings will be worth by then.
I know. Ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
It's like a pyramid scheme. But the only people that actually benefit from it are the privateers. Yeah. That's the problem.
Exactly.
Absolutely bonkers.
I mean, it drives me mad. It drives me mad. Why don't people who run this country run it on a basis of if it was their own house, their own shop, if it was their own business, they'd run it more carefully than wasting vast amounts of money.
It comes back to your assertion, or assertion, I should say, a quite frequent assertion that all politicians don't really know how to run anything.
No, they don't know how to run anything.
They, if you give them some money, they'll inevitably not only lose it, but come back to you and say, you now owe me some more.
I saw a former Home Secretary reviewing the papers tonight on a Sky News programme.
Yeah.
And she was the one who used to live in the back room of her sister's terraced house in London and call it her official home.
Whose husband claimed for porn movies.
Whose husband claimed for porn movies. Unbelievable. Politicians, I tell you what, they are, in my mind, a group of people...
A blight.
Whose credibility is questionable every hour of the day.
Now, how about this from William? Has Porky ever considered having his body frozen when he dies, i.e. cryonics, and coming back into the future to be the true man of the people?
No.
I have to say, I mean, we've done this story before, I'm sure.
Yes.
But there was a cryogenics clinic set up, I believe, somewhere in the Midwest.
Oh, yeah.
Somewhere like Michigan.
Yeah.
But you would be a man after your own heart. This guy was a genius, right? This is a guy who convinced people to give him $10,000 or something, or maybe even $30,000 after they died, to have their heads cut off and frozen.
That's right.
In the hopes that in the future, science would have evolved so much that you could actually reattach the head to a new body, and you could live again. I mean, imagine what sort of scam is that? I mean, that's even better than the wheelie bin scam.
It is, actually, yeah.
Well, you actually take money from people before they die. When they die, you cut their heads off, put them in an ice box,
and then forget about them.
That's
right. Well, sorry, what's the wheelie bin scam?
Well, the wheelie bin scam was the guy that came up with the idea of wheelie bins in the first place.
Right.
I mean, you must remember, we never always had wheelie bins.
No, we didn't.
Now every single home in Britain has a wheelie bin.
Yeah.
The guy that makes the wheelie bins has become a multi-billionaire.
Well, I'm not surprised. But has he got a patent on it?
Well, of course he has.
Well, yeah, but other people still make near wheelie bins.
Yeah, but my point is that he went to every council and said, you need to have these wheelie bins.
Yes.
He went to the government. They lobbied for, cleaner bins.
Yeah.
And they lobbied for better environmental protection.
Sure.
Suddenly, everybody has to have an item of which is quite expensive to buy if you have to buy one.
I totally agree.
And this guy's made a fortune.
I tell you what, why are humans so thick? Up till 20 years ago...
I think it's generic.
Up to 20 years ago, we didn't have wheels on suitcases.
Genetic, I mean.
Yeah, we didn't have wheels on suitcases.
Yeah.
So I remember as a kid when we used to go on holiday to Mallorca, right, you'd get to Manchester Airport and then your dad would get all the cases out the back of the car, then he'd have the two heaviest ones, which used to rip his arms out of his shoulder sockets.
But that's what you call a very good sort of evolution
of course it is,
of travel bags,
but
isn't
it? The suitcase with wheels on it should have been invented in the 19th century, not in 1978.
Right.
It was ridiculous.
I know.
And then, the little kids had to...
But in the 19th century, the only people that had them were people that had servants to lob them around.
Yeah, that's true, absolutely. If you watch Downton Abbey, you're absolutely right, the early 1920s...
They're all trunks,
they all come out and they put the trunks in the back of the cars.
Yeah.
I mean, why are we so thick we couldn't remember to put wheels on suitcases?
Well, maybe they just didn't have the technology.
From the year 1652 or something. It's pretty obvious, isn't it?
Well, I don't think they had suitcases in 1652. But
of course they did. How do you think they travelled?
It was just before the fire of London, they'd all been destroyed.
Yeah, I went to Francis Drake, got on his boat.
Have you seen the time?
What do you think he took his new breeches in?
He didn't take in a Samson, American, what do they call it? American Tourister.
American Tourister, no, but he must have taken in something. Must have had some sort of a case.
Well, he had a big box.
Well, yeah, I'm not sure he did. The breeches box.
Of course he did.
Never heard of the breeches box. I'm telling you.
He had a box. Anyway, we got much more coming up very shortly. It's going to be time for Porkyvision. This is TalkSport.
Get a generous helping of the latest odds and tasty tips with Paddy's Punts every weekday afternoon from 4 on Drive with Durham and Goffey on Talk Sport with Paddy Power. You're welcome. With the form on the football,
what a game.
The going on the GGs,
And they're off.
The crack on the cricket,
6,
and lashings of Paddy's famous generosity.
Come on, gives a break. It's only a bit of crack, isn't it?
Get your tips while they're hot with Paddy's Punts. Weekday afternoons from 4 with Adrian Durham and Darren Goff on Talk Sport with Paddy Power. You're welcome.
Rivalries, rebellions and battles. War has been waged for the Iron Throne. which you can get with the new season of Game of Thrones from just £20 a month when you join Sky TV with the original bundle. And get a free 32-inch LG TV so you can see every battle and every betrayal. Seize your chance by April 21st. Search Sky Bundles. Sky. Believe in better.
Direct debit subject to status. Upfront £10 standard setup. Minimum contract and further terms apply.
I'd wanted to tell Ellie for ages, so I just came out with it. Then she said, "Don't join the army." I sat there really calmly and said, "Don't do what, Elle? Don't leave this place? Don't make a difference in the world? Don't find out what I'm capable of? Don't become a better me?" Then she gave me this stupid smile. That's when I knew she got it.
To find out how to be a better you, search Army Jobs. Army. Be the best.
Roll up, ladies and gentlemen, and prepare to be amazed and astounded by Colin Murray's Carnival of Curiosities, featuring a feast of fascinating facts and a farrago of fiendish falsehoods to untangle from the tantalizing truths, as Mr. Murray delights and astonishes you with his assortment of amicable acquaintances. Don't miss Fact or Fiction every Thursday morning from 10 on Talk Sport with Regain for Men Extra Strength Scalp Foam, scientifically proven to help stop and even reverse hereditary hair loss. Contains minoxidil. Always read the label.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
She knows music, I know music too, you see. She got the power, the teen queen Rosalie. Rosalie.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. There's lots more coming up. Loads of.
Now, what was that?
Well, this was. Remember when I said that? Wasn't there a song by Thin Lizzy called Rosemary?
Yeah, well, there wasn't.
There's Rosalie.
Well, you got that like wrong then, didn't you?
Well, no, but Murphy and Bexley was good enough to correct me. I knew it was something like that.
Yeah, well,
Rosalie, Rosemary. What's the difference? Rosemary.
Hang on, the other Rosemary I remember
Shoebury Town.
No, what was that one? Shoebury Town.
Do you know we should remind people of that when we go to Manchester?
Yeah, definitely. Shoebury
I wonder if
Town,
we've still got that.
Yeah,
Shoebury Town.
The other one I remember is, what about this? Oh, Rosemary, I love you.
Rosemary?
Yeah, who was that?
I don't know. Sounds like country western.
It is country
I'll tell you what we
western.
haven't talked about. People didn't want me to tell you. Merle Haggard has died.
Who?
Merle Haggard, who was one of the original kind of country and western stars around, probably, you would say, around the time of Johnny Cash. He probably started.
Really?
Yeah.
So famous, I've never heard of him.
Well, you haven't heard of lots
I
of
worked
people.
in America
Well, he hasn't
for a
heard of
number
you
of
either.
years. No, I know.
Well, yeah, but you've already declared that you hate country and western music.
Well, I hear all these Boxcar Willie type guys. They're just a load of bums.
What do you mean?
Yeah, these guys who,
You mean the guys that actually did travel on the train?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Right.
Beggars.
What about Jack
basically.
Kerouac?
Who?
What about Jack Kerouac?
Never heard of him.
You've never heard of Jack Kerouac?
Never heard of Jack Kerouac in my life.
Really?
Willie Nelson
You've
was
never
it?
read Jack Kerouac at all?
He
was a beatnik.
Who?
A beatnik.
Who?
Jack Kerouac.
Yeah, what about Boxcar Willie, though? He
What
was.
about him?
Well, I mean, he genuinely was a sort of travelling bum, wasn't he?
Well, he was called Boxcar Willie because he was in boxcars.
That's
That
what
was
I'm
the whole
saying.
point.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, well, I mean, we shouldn't admire people like that because they're just.
Well, no, they were pioneers. They were modern-day pioneers of the great American continent.
Just beggars on society. You know what I mean? What do you call these people? Parasites. Parasites on the wealth of society.
Jack Kerouac from Lowell, Massachusetts, right?
Oh, yeah.
He was an American novelist and poet, considered an iconoclast alongside William S. Burroughs and Allen Ginsberg.
Really? Yeah.
Pioneers of the Beat generation. How can you not have heard of him?
Fascinating. Listen, I've said in the past, I think English should be the dominant language in the whole of the world.
You have said that, yeah.
Right, listen.
Much derision.
Do you realise...
Do you want me to read some more tweets out?
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Here's one, because people are supporting you about PFI.
Oh, excellent.
We in Huddersfield are about to lose our hospital, says this texter, because Halifax Hospital is in huge debt because of PFI.
That's right.
And so in the end, of course, because the tax man cometh...
That's right, somebody's got to pay the debt.
Basically, if the place is not working out,
that's right,
they just shut it down.
Well, the point
and turn it into flats.
The point is, every health authority gets a grant from the government to run the health authority. That's why we have taxes to support the health service.
Yeah.
But when the guy running the health authority suddenly finds that, hang on, so we get, for instance, 100 million a month, right? but 50 million of that is to pay service charges on a debt for building the place in the first place, then the whole system is complete rubbish.
Well, you've explained that already.
Yeah.
Woodenhead says this: if Parry lived in that Italian village, he'd never live to be 100, as he'd forever remain middle-aged like he is now.
I don't think so. In fact, well, that's a compliment, because...
yeah, but you've always said that you are in early middle age.
Yeah, I'm in early middle age, and you try to tell people I'm heading towards old age, which is rubbish.
Well, I mean, I know that 60's the new 50 and all that, but, still.
Yeah, when I get to 60, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah.
D says this: I agree with MG. If you want to marry my daughter and expect me to pay for it, then it's not looking good already. See, that's a good point. And Melvin says, with you on weddings, I've got 4 girls, and I've told them if the man can't afford to pay for the wedding, he ain't worth marrying.
Well,
I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, Mr. Brazil's got 3 daughters, one of whom is already married.
Yeah.
He's got another 2 to come.
And did he pay for their weddings?
Of course he did, because he's a
Well,
gentleman.
he's a very old-fashioned guy.
Gentleman.
But I'm not willing to do that. I think that sets a bad precedent.
Yeah, well, you say that.
Stephen says, wrong, Porky. PFI started under John Major, but yes, it did really take off under Gordon Brown.
Thank you.
So you're not really wrong then, are you?
Of course I'm not
So
wrong.
in fact, you're right.
Yeah, exactly. I'm right,
Peter says, tell Porky Jonathan King went to Charterhouse in Surrey, not Cambridge, and he got the band Genesis started.
Yeah, I know you went to Charterhouse, because that's on the A3 down to the coast, and I pass it every time I go down there.
It's a boarding school.
It's a boarding school, yeah, a very, very good boarding school.
Well, did he not go on to university after
Well, that's what I'm saying. He went on to Oxbridge after that. I'm not sure which one
Oxbridge.
it was. Well, Oxbridge
You can't say
Oxford.
Oxbridge as if it's a geographical term.
Oxbridge is an academic term, meaning either Oxford or Cambridge University.
Yeah, but you can't say he went to Oxbridge.
You can. You can say he's a product of Oxbridge.
No, I
can.
disagree.
No, it's in the same way as we describe the newspaper industry as Fleet Street, OK? It's generic.
Yeah, but it's one, isn't it? It's one street. You're not putting two streets together. It's not like Fleet Street and the Strand, and you call it Street.
No, but there is no Fleet Street anymore in terms of a newspaper industry.
No, but your allegory is wrong.
No, it's not.
It is.
Anyway, listen, I want to tell you about this. I keep saying that English should be spoken by everybody in the world, and then there'd be no miscommunication.
Well, it'd be good if you started speaking in English.
I speak great English. Can I tell you this? Do you know how many French words there are in the English language?
I think I do.
Yeah?
Because once you told me not long ago that the French are now annoyed because the French are adopting more and more English words.
So many English words, yeah.
But now you're going around the other way and telling me that there are lots of French words in the English
language. I'm going to run you off a list
of... Well, that's because of the Norman invasion, isn't it?
Well, I'm about to reel off a number of words. You will be amazed, right? And our listeners...
I won't be amazed at all.
They're going to be amazed. Listen to this very quickly. I'll reel these off, right?
OK, go on.
Maisonette, cul-de-sac, ensuite, bidet, chic, coiffeured, concierge... suite, as in suite of rooms. A la carte.
Or as in ensuite bathroom.
That's right. A la carte, gourmet, hors d'oeuvres.
I never knew that was French.
Yeah. Gâteau. Fondue. Fondue.
Fondue? What is
fondue.
That? What is fondue?
It's like a paste you put on a cracker. Sommelier.
Get me some of that fondue paste.
That's right,
my cracker.
Sommelier. Okay.
Sommelier, yes. What's that?
He's a wine waiter.
Right, okay, well, a bit more than a waiter.
OK, duvet.
Duvet, yes.
Chiffon.
Chiffon?
Chiffon.
Chiffon,
That's like a material, isn't it?
Yeah, pronounced chiffon here.
Yeah. Negligé. Ooh la la.
Steady.
Okay, negligé.
Right. What about lingerie? You haven't got that one in yet.
Lingerie comes next, lingerie, yeah. And then tour de force. Okay.
Tour de force?
Tour de force.
These are all French words.
No, but these are expressions in English.
They're not English.
They are. They're English expressions.
No, they're French.
I often say that when we go into the broadcasting world, we're a tour de force on radio.
Well,
you know
what I
mean?
mean? It doesn't make it English, does it?
No, it doesn't, but I'm telling you, these are all now accepted expressions in English.
What do you mean now?
My favourite breakfast food, croissant, OK?
Yeah.
You go to the cinema on a Sunday afternoon. What do you go? You go to a matinee, right?
What?
You go to a matinee if you go to see a film in the afternoon.
Nobody calls it that anymore.
Of course they do.
No, they don't. They call it a matinee if it's on the stage, I would say.
I've
never been to a Sunday afternoon cinema and had it called a matinee.
I have, all the time.
You don't go to the cinema?
When I do, if I go in the afternoon, I say I'm going to the matinee.
Well, you could say it.
Or if I go to the West End,
if
I go to a West End play on a Tuesday afternoon, it's a matinee.
When was the last time you went to a West End play on a
Tuesday? I never have been, but if I did, I would.
Right.
Avant-garde.
You've said that one, haven't you?
No, avant-garde.
Avant-garde.
What's that mean?
Avant-garde, well, it means fashionable, doesn't it?
Avant-garde? No, I don't think it does, actually.
What does it mean, then?
An avant-garde...
It's also the type of Mercedes.
It's sort of cutting edge. Cutting edge, it is avant-garde.
Well, fashionable.
Right, ingenue.
How is that different?
Ingenue.
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 Yeah. Ingenue.
Now, what's an ingenue?
I'm going to see an ingenue in January.
Yeah, what's an ingenue?
Well, an ingenue is the description of someone who is sort of slightly...
New.
Slightly kind of, but not just new.
Yeah.
Kind of innocent, in a way.
What does a footballer make when he plays his first game?
A fool of himself.
No, his debut.
Okay.
French word, okay. What about...
How about debutante?
Debutante, that's right. That's somebody who's in a place. So you see all these words.
Somebody who's in a place.
Cul-de-sac. What's that? What's the...
Well, you've already told me that.
Yeah, but what's the exact definition?
Well, you used to live in a cul-de-sac.
I did.
It's a dead end, isn't it?
It's not. It means... cul-de-sac means something of... It means without exit. Without exit,
no,
okay?
Sac is French for bag, right? Sac.
Oh, yeah. It's bottomless bag.
Bottomless.
The
no,
bottomless
it's not.
bag.
It's the exact opposite of that. It's the end of the bag.
End of the bag.
It's quite an appropriate place for you to live, actually.
Now, maisonnette, right? Maisonnette. That's French for house.
maison is house, right?
Yeah.
So maisonnette, presumably, is small house.
Small house. Yeah.
It's not difficult, this. Did you study French?
Yes, I did, yes.
Did you? To what level?
O-level.
You've got an O-level in French, have
No,
you?
I failed it, actually.
You failed it?
Yeah, but I did
So
study
you've got
it.
14 O-levels,
Yes.
but you failed French?
Yes, that's right.
Did you fail any others?
No, not to my knowledge.
So you took 15 O-levels?
Yes.
And you only failed French?
No, I failed physics as well.
So you took 16
Must
O-levels?
have taken 16, yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
So without French and physics, how can you get to 14?
Well, I just did, because I took a...
We've
I was
tried
very
this
bright.
before.
Yeah.
You were very bright, yeah. Sadly, that doesn't seem to have...
No, not at all. Not at all.
Throughout the rest of your life. Anyway, we've run out of time now.
Yeah, exactly.
Would you like to say au revoir?
No, I'd like to say you have a petite brain.
How about abianto?
No, abianto is
That
Spanish.
means see you soon.
No, it's Spanish.
Let's just talk sport. Does that stir the sinew for you?
Well, I think it is a very stirring.
It's a great national anthem.
National anthem. I totally agree.
Almost every national anthem, apart from the British national anthem, is great.
Well, I love the British national anthem because it's ours. Yeah,
it's a dirge, though.
Well, it's ours.
A terrible dirge.
And so it certainly stirs my emotions. But what I was going to say was, whenever I hear that, I imagine Charles de Gaulle standing on the Champs-Élysées with his épée hat on, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tell you
Day of the Jackal.
Yeah, that's right, absolutely. I tell you what I read today.
Taxi Man says this, Porky in his French reminds me of Del Boy.
Oh, really?
Which I think is about right.
I don't think that's right at all. What I was going to say to you was, if we decided now, I tell you, let's push off to Paris for the weekend on the Eurostar.
On the Eurostar.
You get fantastic deals in hotels in Paris because, sadly, since the attacks on the continent, both in Paris and Brussels, hotel rates have dropped by 50%.
I'm sure that's true. I was listening actually to something again yesterday about Sharm el Sheikh, which is more or less a
deserted,
ghost town.
Yeah, I know.
And they're probably going to have to shut down an awful lot of the hotels.
It's terrible. It's a terrible shame.
It's absolutely awful.
Terrible shame.
We've got lots more coming up. Here's one from D, who says, Porky asking grannies to come to the matinee. For heaven's sake, it's not 1905.
Tell about grannies? I never mentioned grannies.
Well, I think it's...
I said when I go to a matinee on a Tuesday afternoon, I call it the matinee.
No, William
Everybody
says...
calls it the matinee.
Nobody does. Rosemary, says William, was sung by Slim Whitman.
Hey?
Slim Whitman.
What, Rosemary?
Yeah, don't sing it again.
I love you.
Don't sing it again.
That's Slim Whitman. I thought he was a bit of a, half-baked, to be honest.
So Nub says, try
used
listen...
to wear check shirts, didn't he?
Well, that's like you wear check shirts.
I only wear check shirts if
you
they're
had a check shirt on the other night.
Yeah, fashionable.
Nub says, try listening to C6 Steve, proper hobo. He makes music from planks, nails and wire. Awesome sound.
Yeah, it sounds awesome, yeah.
And here's one from Pirol, who says, you want a cheap holiday? Go to Thailand. 1 month, £600 for flights and accommodation, 330 quid. Skyscanner flights, £270 for an apartment.
I'm very suspicious of people who go to Thailand for their holidays.
Are you?
Yeah.
Only you can say something like that.
Well, aren't you?
No. I'm not at all suspicious of people who go to Thailand for their holidays.
Do you know what the biggest industry is?
Yeah, well...
Sex.
Well, in some ways it is, but not in all ways.
Yeah, well, I'm very suspicious of people who go to Thailand for their holidays.
And, stay away from all that. There's some beautiful parts of the country.
Yeah.
Not everybody's sex-obsessed.
Yeah. Oh, I'm surprised you know so much about it. Not.
I've never been to Thailand. Have you?
I've never been to Thailand.
Well, how do you know then?
Because I know. I know these things.
Okay.
Talk sport.
And it's in!
A diving header at the end of a 50-yard run.
From the root to the tip.
Talk sport.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later. Lots of reaction to your French or Franglaise,
Yes.
as I would call it.
Yes.
Roy also says, tell that idiot that Boxcar Willie was in the US Air Force from 1949 to 1976.
Was
he
he?
was anything but a bum.
Oh.
And then he says you're a judgmental plank.
Well, hang on. Why was he called Boxcar Willie? You told me it's because you told me, you informed me
Well,
that
the
he used to
expert.
get around in America in boxcars by fraudulently climbing on board trains for which he paid no fare.
Which a lot of people did
to
in
get
those
on
days.
board.
A lot of people did that. D says Porky's good at O-levels, but not in French.
No.
Pascal says pret-a-manger is French. Can Porky pronounce it, please?
Pret-a-manger.
Yeah, pret-a-manger.
Pret-a-manger.
Here's one from Craig, who says that Porky should really master English rather than French. Oui, le plank.
No, I think
Rob
you'll...
calls you le plank as well.
I think you'll find that my command of English is almost excellent.
And D is asking me, and I've asked you this before, can you please ask Porky to confirm or deny his proficiency at A-levels? Au revoir.
A-levels, 4.
Yeah. 4 A-levels?
4.
What did you get those in then?
History, English, economics, general studies.
General studies? That doesn't count.
It does.
General studies does not count.
Well, it was an A-level in my day.
It's a cop-out, though.
No.
That will not get you into Oxbridge, as you call it, which is why you didn't get in.
I think you'll...
You can't do an A-level in general studies.
I did do it, and I went for my interview at Brasenose College, Oxford.
Yeah, and you didn't get in.
I chose elsewhere. It's as simple as that.
Hey, here's one, right? Because a lot of people have been moaning about BT's coverage of the Manchester City game last night.
Oh, yeah, did they miss a goal?
Said, well, I'm not sure, because I didn't see it on BT. I got a French word for Porky to say Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Apparently, Michael Owen couldn't manage it earlier.
Oh, I can.
And also, apparently, I read on Twitter that Gary Lineker was stumbling over his words. A couple of people said, have Gary Lineker and Michael Owen been to the... have they been to the Mike Parry School of Commentating?
Or it was in Paris, of course, tonight, wasn't it?
Certainly was.
Had they taken a sniff of the French vino?
The vino?
Yeah.
Do you mean van?
The van.
Vino is, of course, Italian.
That's right, yeah, the van.
Is it not?
Yeah. But I'm not accusing them of being intoxicated under any circumstances.
That wouldn't be right.
They're top professionals.
Dev says, what about limousine? Is that a French word?
Limousine. Yeah, it could be, I suppose. You've got to remember, there's a lot of French influence in the American lexicon.
Well, not really, because they get it all wrong, don't they?
Yeah, but they get it wrong. But you've got to remember that, for instance,
filet.
New Orleans used to be owned by the French.
New Orleans.
You
pronounce it Norlands.
Norlands. And you have to also remember that the dastardly French ganged up against us in the American War of Independence.
The French?
Yeah.
Well, they would, wouldn't they?
Yeah, they ganged up the Americans against us.
Sworn enemies.
We were sworn enemies, that's absolutely right.
How about this from Stephen? He said, guys, the linguistic device where, to use your example, Fleet Street represents journalism is called metonymy.
What?
You ever heard of that? Metonymy.
Metonymy is what? What is metonymy?
Metonymy is the linguistic device where, to use your example, Fleet Street represents journalism, as in Oxbridge represents Oxford and Cambridge.
I see, yeah.
He's just giving it a sort of a collective noun.
I understand that. So, for instance, what else is a metonymy? Let me just think here. For instance...
Well, see, I think the combination of Oxford and Cambridge...
Hoover.
What?
Hoover.
No, it's not the same.
Hoover was originally a machine that picked up...
Well, Hoover is a brand name.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Dust off a carpet, and then when other people made similar machines, they're all called Hoovers.
Yeah, but in America, for example, you don't say Hoover. In America, you say vacuum.
Oh, I say Hoover. In fact, I'll tell you what, I got a bloke the sack once. I got a bloke the sack once in...
that doesn't surprise me.
In a furniture shop in New York.
A furniture shop?
Yeah.
What were you buying furniture for?
For my apartment in New York.
But you had a furnished apartment?
No, I didn't, no.
Why not?
Because I didn't want one. I wanted to finish it myself, so I did.
You wanted to furnish your own apartment?
Yeah, I did,
and this was paid for by the Daily Express?
Well, they paid for the apartment, and I paid for the furniture. Well, no, they paid for the furniture. That's true. That's true, they did, yeah. I wanted good furniture.
What a waste of money.
I wanted good furniture.
No wonder the journalism trade is now in such decline.
It was up on 77th and 1st. Anyway, so I go into this shop, right, and there's this really chippy, mouthy shop assistant guy to buy a bed.
Was it sort of Midtown type shop?
It was, actually. It was Midtown, absolutely. One of them big, Midtown things, like 55th or something like that,
but like one of these, mattress warehouse type places.
Yeah, that's right, yeah absolutely, yeah.
Because the thing I was always impressed with in New York is you could order a mattress and get it delivered within 3 hours.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
amazing.
Yeah. It was all the service was brilliant. Everything works in America.
Because it once occurred to me that if you were particularly out on the pull, as you used to call it, rather unsavourily, if you could order a mattress and get them to deliver it into Central Park.
How disgraceful.
Well, it just occurred to... I don't know why it occurred to me. I never did it.
Well, that sort of thing would occur to you, alley cat type existence. Yeah. Anyway, the point of my story is...
Yeah, go on.
So I go in there, and of course, in this country, we are used to box beds. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, like you've got a mattress, you put it on top of a box, don't you? You know, they're called a box bed.
It's called a box spring mattress.
Box spring mattress, that's right, yeah. Anyway, I go in this shop, and all they've got are beds raised on frames.
Uh-huh.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a cross frame.
Yeah, like a wooden type bed with sort of slats.
Yes, that's right.
That you put the mattress on top of.
Yes, but supported on what I'd call like an A-frame. You see what I mean? Like a metal A-frame.
Well, what do you mean without proper legs?
Well, it was no box. It was just a frame that you put it on. So anyway,
that's okay, isn't it?
Well, yeah, but the conversation I had was this. This guy who was trying to sell me this was regarding me as a dumb limey, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
he wasn't that far wrong, really, was he?
He was very wrong. So I said, all these beds are very nice. I said, look, back in England, I said, we have what's called box beds. I said, and I feel more comfortable with one of those. Do you have any box beds?
Yeah.
And he said, no, sir, we don't have any box beds. And I said, oh, why is that then? He said, why is that? Because in America... we light a vacuum under our beds. And he said it, I said, I'm sorry, what did you say?
That is a good point, actually. That is a good point, because you can't vacuum under a box spring mattress.
So I said, sorry, are you trying to say that because I'm English, I don't have the...
filthy.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have the same...
You wouldn't like that.
No, I didn't like it. I said, excuse me, are you trying to say because I'm English, I don't look after my house like you look after yours?
Yeah.
Trying to say that I'm a dirty individual who doesn't vacuum under his bed?
Yeah.
I said,
you can't, can you?
Yeah, of course you can. You push the box bed aside and you vacuum, and then you push it the other way and you vacuum.
Yeah, if you've got a big enough room.
Yeah, well, that's what my cleaning lady does, and that's what I always used to do, and I did it myself.
Right.
So this guy said, I'm just saying, sir, we'll have a... I said, are you the manager of this place? He said, why? I said, because I want to speak to the manager. He said, why? I said, because you've just insulted me, that's why.
Why did you say it so personally?
I took it immediately very personally.
Why does it matter?
Because the guy was trying to make out that I lived in some sort of a pigsty back in England.
What difference does it make when
it
a guy
makes
in
a
a furniture
huge difference
shop
to me.
It says to you?
It makes a huge difference to me.
Why don't you just say, well, thank you very much, I'm not going to buy a bed from you?
Oh, no. I wanted this guy put on the spot.
Why?
So I said, go and get me your manager, right? He said, you want us to talk to my manager for? I said, because I'm not being insulted by you. He said, I didn't insult you. I said, I'm not having this conversation with you. So I went and found the manager myself, who was sitting in a little glass box, in the store somewhere, And I kicked his door down.
You see, you are so kind of vile when it comes to these things.
No.
Just seeking revenge and trying to punish people.
So I banged on the window of his little box until he opened the door, and I said, excuse me, I've got a complaint. Oh, yes, sir, what's the problem, And I told him exactly. He said, and what is the issue? I said... the way your guy said it to me, right, was not informative. It was insulting. He was trying to make out that I come from a home in England where we don't clean under our beds, and we do clean under our beds, and I'm not being spoken to like that. Do you understand?
You must have thought you just escaped from the lunatic asylum.
No, I said, not only am I not by my bed here, I said, but I'm part of a 60 or 70 strong British community of journalists who communicate with millions of people around the world, and none of us will be coming here to buy any furniture off you. I will be telling the world what sort of people you are who work in this shop.
Did you write a story about it?
I didn't in the end, actually, because I
nobody's
decided...
interested.
Well, no.
Because nobody cares.
But anyway, the guy said, I will discipline, the said employee.
Right.
Sir.
Well, I thought you said you got him fired.
I did get him fired, because I went back there about a week later to see what had happened, and the guy wasn't there.
Perhaps he'd been relocated.
Perhaps he'd been, relocated.
Out of harm's way.
Yeah.
Or maybe he had a day off.
Sorry?
Maybe he had a day off.
Well, he wasn't there, believe me.
Maybe he stressed him out.
Maybe
he saw you coming and just went in the back.
I don't know, but he wasn't there, believe me.
I know that you got him fired. Woodenhead says this, they missed a goal because they were showing a replay and Michael Owen called Fernando when he scored.
Yeah, but you see,
somebody's
made that mistake before, and last time somebody made that mistake...
What, you mean wrong pronunciation or missed the goal?
No, confused Fernando with Fernandinho. Yeah. They were accused of racism.
Really?
Because apparently, and they look very similar physically, but somebody said, racist that, to get two men wrong. They were trying to say, because they are two black men...
Brazilians, aren't they?
That's right, yeah, and you confused one for the other, you're being racist.
No, that's ridiculous.
Yeah, absolutely.
Total bonkers.
Yeah.
Right, we've got loads more tweets to read out. Send them in at the two Mikes, at Mike Parry, at IROMG. Porkyvision coming up very soon.
Ain't no woman gonna change the way I think. I think I'll just stay here and drink. Yes, sir.
like that?
Not really.
No?
Who's that?
That's Merle Haggard.
Yeah, you see, that sounds like the Boxcar Willie type dribble
really
that I
rather
can't
sweet.
stand.
Oh, that's quite
That
sweet.
sounds like a bloke standing on a soapbox playing a banjo in a barn.
Have a listen to it. It's kind of honky-tonk piano.
Yeah,
Not something you would hear sometimes in a Rolling Stones song.
Yeah, well, some guy might have a piano in the barn, but I mean, that's barn music, isn't it, really?
No, it's not.
It is.
And the song is about drinking as well. That's why I thought you might like it.
Is it?
I think I'll just stay here and drink a while or something like that.
Yes.
Here's one from Rob who says, I never could you do an A-level in general studies. I smell a rat, Porky.
Yes, you could.
Here's one from Kevin. I do hear football fans moan quite regularly about BT football coverage, but I find their rugby coverage first class.
Oh, really?
Well, thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you very much indeed. We weren't talking about rugby coverage, but nice to know.
Well, that's all right for him to say that. Matty says the coverage of the game on BT was published by French TV, not actually BT cameras, and they did miss the PSG goal.
Well, that's a point. You can take the feed, can't you, from the host broadcaster, which presumably is a French company. I don't know which one it was. But nevertheless, you've got to keep an eye on those things, haven't you?
Yeah.
And if that... if that arises, you're supposed to do something about it, I suppose. I don't know. I'm not an expert on TV production, I have to say.
Now, Roy's got some more information on Boxcar Willie for you.
Oh, yes.
He says he was at a railroad crossing and a guy resembling his chief, Willie Wilson, passed by in a boxcar, and he said, there goes Willie. So he pulled over and wrote a song entitled Boxcar Willie.
Yeah.
And eventually stuck and became his stage name.
Oh, I thought he was called Boxcar Willie because he literally crafted his music and his sound.
Well, you obviously got that wrong.
No, in the confined and tiny area of space of a boxcar. I thought that's what it was all about.
Well,
that's just a myth, isn't it?
Well, so it's a myth.
Damn
then.
stupid myth. Somebody sold me a pup.
Somebody sold you a pup and you got it wrong. So you might as well just admit it.
No, I don't think I'll admit it.
Alessandro says Merle Haggard R.I.P.
Merle Haggard, well, he's dead, is he?
Well, I just
is
told
that
you that.
Talking about
yeah, he died yesterday.
Yeah.
David
Can
says,
I just say, I think his passing will not have the slightest effect on the rest of the world.
I disagree. What was Columbo doing managing a bed shop, he says?
Oh, Columbo, yeah, that's right, yeah. Can I
your
just
American
tell you,
voices sound like Columbo.
That's right, Columbo. What a great guy
and
Columbo
other people say, what was
by the
Porky doing causing havoc in a bed shop in Manhattan?
Yeah, well, I'm telling you, I'm not going to be treated like or spoken to like that. Damned Americans.
Yeah, but you see, that betrays a certain, sort of chip on the shoulder type attitude.
No, it doesn't.
Some inferiority complex.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't anyway. I'm just going to be treated with respect.
Why? Why do you think you should be treated with respect?
Because at the time, right, I was a leading Fleet Street figure working in America. I had the top reporting job in the world.
No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
You weren't. I mean, there was hordes. When you were in New York,
yeah.
there were hordes of journalists in New York from Britain.
There were only 3 sent there from the Daily Express, and I was one of them.
What do you mean only 3 from the Daily Express?
Yeah.
The Daily Mail had about 4. The Mirror had about 5.
Yeah, but hang on, mate.
You know, the Telegraph had about 6.
Hang on.
There was about 30 British Fleet Street journalists in New York.
I agree. And about another...
And most of them didn't do any work, including you.
And about another 2,000 or 3,000 back in England who'd love to have got the job but didn't because they weren't good enough.
Well,
right,
no, it wasn't a question of whether they were good enough.
Of course it was.
My point is that you were not the leading light of that group at any time.
Oh, let me tell you this, right? What you do is you start work on a weekly newspaper, and if you're any good, you go up to an evening newspaper, right? When you work on an evening paper, if you're any good, you get onto a daily newspaper, right?
Yeah, well,
if you're any good, you get to Fleet Street.
That's because you do things in a very kind of, methodical and what can only be described as orthodox manner.
When I got my job on the Daily Express...
I didn't do any of that. I just went to New York.
When I got
on
my job on the Daily Express, 365 people applied for it, and I got it. I was one in 360. It is absolutely true.
365 people on the Daily Express who were reporters.
No, you idiot. You weren't listening. When I got my job on the Daily Express, I was working for the Birmingham Mail, 365 people applied for it. I know that because when I eventually got the job, Stan, what's his name?
Stan Mays.
No, not Stan Mays. He was our man in New York. Stan, who was the news editor, a very eccentric Geordie guy, the news editor in Manchester where I started, he told me and he showed me all the letters. He said, Michael, you were 1 in 365. I said, thank you very much indeed.
Do you want me to read you something from your time in New York?
If you want, yeah.
Do you remember Derek Hudson?
I remember Derek Hudson. He was the photographer who used to make up stories about his girlfriend being killed in a car crash so he didn't have to work with Jean Rook because he found Jean Rook to be an absolute pain and didn't want to travel with her.
Well, on the occasion of Philip Finn's death, which you'll remember was last year.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Very sad.
He wrote a very nice piece on Facebook
for
all of his friends.
Lovely.
Right? And he talked about his time in New York. and he said that he had a terrible time when he went down to Nicaragua to cover. Because in those days, Fleet Street photographers used to go all over the world
to the war in
he got
in
very
Middle America.
sick. He was flown back to Britain when he was sick. He said Phil Finn used to come and see him every other day when he finally got back to New York, and he was sort of holed up.
Yes.
But then he writes about his great time and the people that he knew in Manhattan, right?
Yes.
And he says, one word, Costello's Bar and Grill, headquarters for the Brit Pack, where I first met Phil, Brian, Mickey, George Gordon, Dermot Pagavey, Jimmy Breslin, Steve Dunleavy, Mike Graham, Ivor Key, Sean Usher, and many, many, many more.
Yeah.
You may have met the inimitable Peter Myers, he of the excellent downtown pork pie and pork sausage manufacturer, running the indispensable Myers of Keswick store,
That's right.
where the multifarious gastronomic cravings of any true Brit were fulfilled.
Yes, that's right.
And he goes on about the Daily Mail and this and the other.
Sure.
My point is, he doesn't mention you.
Well, I didn't mix with Derek Hudson. He was a bum. He was a lying bum.
Well, all these other people that you know are mentioned, right? Including
I don't
me.
care. I don't
but you're
care.
not mentioned.
Well, I didn't want to be mentioned.
That's how much of an impact you made.
No. I didn't want anything to do with Derek
People
Hudson.
didn't like you.
I didn't want anything to do with Derek Hudson. I went down to Barbados to find Mick Jagger.
Yeah.
I spent day and night searching for Mick Jagger.
Wasn't Derek Hudson working with you?
Yeah, he was, yeah. He was supposed to be my photographer.
Day and night working
no,
with you?
he was out water skiing.
Ah.
I used to see him out water skiing. He used to get up,
Well, that's because probably didn't want to hang around with you.
No, it wasn't hanging around. I said, we're going to knock on every door in Barbados. It was on the estate of the famous hotel, what's it called?
What, Sandy Lane?
Sandy Lane, in the estate of the Sandy Lane hotel. So we're going to knock on every door on Barbados until we find Mick Jagger. And he said, oh, OK, so well, I'll take that street, you take this one. I lost him.
He took the
I
boat.
lost him, and 2 hours later, I found him out water skiing. He was a bum.
Yeah, well,
Sorry.
he was a great guy, a great photographer, and he now works in Paris.
Does he?
Yeah.
What does he do there?
He's still a photographer.
Who for?
Works for a lot of magazines, does a lot of stuff for Paris Match.
Yeah.
Works for Le Monde from time to time.
He literally
Spiegel
once
in
was
Germany.
on
He's a fantastic photographer.
He was on a
very nice guy. I like him a lot.
He was on a mission somewhere with Jean Rook. Jean Rook was the first lady of Fleet Street, or the column, but he couldn't stand Jean's. What's the sort of behaviour I'm talking about? What you call the lead singer in an Italian production?
Do you mean a diva?
Diva, that sort of thing. Yeah. Well, there's another word for it, but anyway, diva. Yeah, and so he invented a story that is literally that his girlfriend had been involved in a terrible car crash, and she was probably going to die, and he had to go home.
Yeah.
So he left her wherever she was, in the deep south of him. He came back to New York. About a week later, he saw Jean, again in Costello's, I think, and Jean asked him how his girlfriend was. He'd forgotten he told her this ridiculous story, and he was found out and exposed. I mean, he a complete fantasist on many occasions, old Derek.
Shocking, that.
Yeah.
I hate fantasists.
Yeah, no, I do as well. I do, I'm telling you. Guy's a bomb.
Yeah.
And you say he's still alive, working in Paris?
Well, of course he's still alive.
I hope he's listening to the show.
He's younger than you.
He's not younger than me.
Yeah, he is.
He's not.
I think he is.
He is not.
Well, what age is he then?
Derek will be in his mid-60s now.
Mid-60s?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, definitely.
I don't think he's that old.
No, I think he is.
William says this, just to be fair to French TV, our ITV went into a commercial break while a match was still being played. I remember that. What game? What are you doing now?
Sorry, I dropped my pen. I couldn't find it.
Well, you don't need a pen.
No, well, I do.
What do you need a pen for?
To write notes down when you get something wrong.
All right. Well, would you like me to give you some time to pick it up?
No, I've picked it up now. It's fine, yeah.
Peter says, how do you pronounce je suis une planche? Or should that end with a sh sound or a shay sound? Planche.
Well, Bill,
in French.
Bill Wyman did a song, didn't he? Je suis un rock star.
Je suis un rock star.
Je suis un rock star.
And Mark says that village that Porky was talking about, where there's 300 people now, over 100, it's down to 298. I don't know how he knows that.
I don't know how he knows that. Oh, does he? Is that an update?
Yeah.
Right, here, I've got a fascinating fact for you.
Go on.
Did you know that in Japan, there are 20 different flavours of KitKat?
What?
Yeah, 20 different flavours.
I saw a story about Japan, actually, because they're apparently going to bring in a Big Mac in the Japanese McDonald's.
Yeah, nobody wants it?
Well, no, but it's 3 times the size of the regular Big Mac.
It was taken out of the actual documents from the archives of MI6.
Yeah.
I would hand them to my Soviet contact.
That's how it all used to work in those days, like the Ipcris file, right?
Yeah. He said the next morning I would meet the contact again. They'd give me the files back after they'd photographed them all overnight, right?
Right.
And then I'd take them.
Just take them back?
Take them back and put the files back in their place.
Incredible.
I did this for a number of years.
Yeah.
All he had to do to gain access to the secret files that had nothing to do with his job, it was in a completely different department of the Secret Service, was treat the archivist in charge of the department that day to a couple of drinks after work.
Right.
Sometimes the archivist would bring them to me in the pub.
Amazing. I wonder if it was that pub. Well, I suppose MI6 in those days would have been. It was always somewhere around Victoria. I always thought, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that neck of the woods.
Well, if you go over the bridge near Lambeth Palace, Lambeth Bridge,
yeah.
The building on the other side is MI5.
Yes.
So I reckon it must have been around. And then you go straight on up Horseferry Road to Victoria Station.
Yes. It was always around that
all
kind
around
of place,
there,
Because I'm much wondering, the spy room that I told you I went to when I went to see Stephen Gray's book being launched.
Yes.
Which is a room above the pub, right opposite the current MI6 building.
Yes.
I wonder if it was that pub. Might have been.
Maybe.
Very possibly so.
Yeah, amazing.
Because, also, we were saying that about the Panama Papers the other day. Somebody probably downloaded all of those files from whichever office that they used.
Which files?
The Panama Papers.
Oh, the Panama Papers.
On just like a memory stick.
Yeah,
one of
probably,
these little things you can just put in your handbag or in your pocket.
Yeah.
But they must have had to do it over a long period of time.
Exactly.
So somebody must have been remiss in that area. Got lots more to tell you, but we haven't got much time. This is Talk Sport.
Don't phone your mother. Phone Talk Sport.
Football on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Atletico Radio.
Talk Sport.
As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's your problem?
It is that time of the week, of course, when Mr. Parry has a look at all of the television programmes that are available on various platforms, whether they be perhaps on internet TVs, whether they be on regular channels, unknown channels, historic channels.
Yes.
And he's about to give you his Porkyvision of the week. Take it away, Mr. Parry.
Yes, that's right. Indeed, I am. Now, listen, it must be very, very hard to find a programme to replace The Night Manager at 9 o'clock on a Sunday night. Do you agree?
Well, in fact, I had that very conversation this weekend.
Oh, really? Who
because with the mother of my children.
Oh, okay, there
we
you
both
go.
said, well, what are we going to watch now? Because The Night Manager's finished.
Anyway, so they put this programme on called... hang on, what's it called? Oh, it's called Undercover.
Oh, yeah.
And it stars a very exceptional actress called Sophie Okonedo.
Okay.
Right,
I'm familiar with her.
Yeah, she's been in a lot of dramas. She plays kind of sinister roles sometimes. She played a role in a one I saw once, and it was called The May Queen. It was about a little 15-year-old girl who was the beauty queen in the local pageant on May Day. You know what I mean?
Just a spring clean for the May Queen.
Hey?
Just a spring clean for the May Queen.
Don't know what that means.
It's a line from a Led Zeppelin song.
Oh, is it? Right, okay. But who got abducted and murdered by a bloke who turned out to be her husband, but she kept it quiet because she didn't want him to go to jail.
Oh, right.
You see what I mean?
So was this a true story then?
Oh, no, that's not the programme I'm reviewing.
Oh.
That was just to tell you who...
But was it a true story?
No, it wasn't, no. But that's to tell you who Sophie Okonedo is.
Okay.
Now, in this one, this is an utterly rubbish programme. Undercover starts... with this...
I thought you said you weren't reviewing it.
I'm not reviewing The May Queen. That was to tell you...
Oh, I see, OK.
...where I last saw Sophie Okonedo and the sort of character she plays.
Right.
The programme we're reviewing is called Undercover.
Right.
And it opens, for some bizarre reason, with her car parked across a freeway in America as a huge, 60-ton American rig lorry is bearing down on her, with the horns going, brr, brr, get out the way and all that,
Yeah.
And she gets out of the way at the last minute. She is a lawyer. She's on her way to a jail where a bloke she's been representing for 20 years has lost his final appeal and is about to go into the, the room where they give you the lethal injection.
Oh, right.
A death cell.
The death chamber.
The death chamber, that's right, yeah. So there's lots
So it's an American show?
No, this is the confusion about the whole thing. She's an English barrister lawyer.
OK.
But she's been representing this guy for 20 years.
Right.
Right. And you think...
So he's in America?
He's in America.
Right.
He's in a jail in Louisiana.
Louisiana?
You see her turn up at the state pen in Louisiana,
How about Louisiana?
Yeah, Louisiana as well. So anyway, she gets in there and there's lots of tears because he's lost the last appeal and all that.
Yeah.
And then it's just completely bizarre. She is then told she can go into the room next door and watch it through the, the window, which is because you have to have witnesses to these things.
Yes.
You'd have thought that would be the very last thing she did, because it all turns out to be a civil rights issue,
okay.
as a lot of these things are.
Because they've got the death penalty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right.
Right.
So she says, no, I don't want to. So then she leaves, but we still don't understand why this British lawyer, and by the way, she looks about 25, this girl, right? But
well, this is one of the problems with a lot of television shows, isn't it?
She gets home to London, just to jump in a bit, and she's got a family of a husband and 3 grown-up children, which make her at least sort of 40 or 45, you know what I mean?
Right.
So it's all completely out of sync. Anyway, she leaves the jail, in a fit of pique, saying, we've lost the appeal and all that. And she then gets in a car and she drives back to wherever she's going in Louisiana to get a plane home to London.
Yeah.
And the most bizarre plot, she stops on a deserted road in Louisiana, gets out, walks across the field, and then decides to have an epileptic fit, literally.
Well, presumably doesn't know that she's going to have one.
Well, I think it's self-induced because she's lost her case and her client's been...
OK, so the stress has brought it on, maybe.
So she leaps to the floor, a bit like Louis van Gaal did, when he tried to demonstrate, he fell to the ground, you...
Nobody really knows why he did that, really, did they?
No, and, when... what did he say? I'm telling you, you play a dive.
Yes, and then he fell backwards.
Well, she does a Louis van Gaal flip onto this cornfield that's just been... It's not. There's no corn in it. Yeah, that's right. It's just been ploughed,
harvested.
And I'm not joking. She's scrabbling around like like you sometimes see a dog scratching its back in dirt and all that kind of stuff.
Well, my dog did that twice at the weekend.
Right. Well, it's like that. Anyway, while she's doing that,
how unnerving.
It's completely bizarre. While she's doing that, this guy who's a prison officer in the state pen. Comes roaring up in a massive car and says, "Hey, come back, come back!" Now,
so he knows exactly where she is.
This is what I'm saying. This is so ridiculous. You know as well as I do that actually guards who work in the state penitentiary in Louisiana are not usually that sympathetic to civil rights campaigners.
Not generally, no.
Who stand outside the jail.
Well, they've usually got those big demonstrations outside going, "Fry them!"
Yeah, exactly.
Where the locals are all out in force saying, "Let's kill them."
Yeah, exactly.
The pitchfork brigade.
So anyway, as you quite rightly say, how did this cop, this prison officer, know where she was? Why did he jump in a car? Why did he chase her? And she says, "What's going on?" He says, "It's all gone wrong. It's all gone wrong. He's still alive."
Well, they've tried to kill him and it didn't work.
It didn't work. So she then leaves her car, abandons it. Both the doors are open, by the way.
Okay.
She says, "Oh, I'll come back with you."
All right.
So this is a hire car. It must be, because she's in America. Yeah. So she decided, I don't give a monkeys about the hire car.
Sounds very confusing.
It's ridiculous. So she gets back in with the prison ward. They go back. She's then looking through the door, and her guy is in a terrible state.
Yeah.
She then rings up some senator.
And does it tell you which method they've used? Is it like lethal
injection?
No,
lethal injection. Right. She then rings up some senator who is at a cocktail party with a dicky bow tie on and all that, and he's saying, "Well, if we can get hold of a judge, because then they can postpone the execution now instead of
because
they've
tried
to kill
once
him
and failed,
and all that kind of stuff, So then her battery runs out on her mobile phone. So So we have no idea whether it's commuted or whatever.
Right.
Next thing, we see her back in London.
Right. But is this a one-off or is it a series then?
It's a series.
I think
it's
you have
6
to find
parts.
out next week then.
I think it's 6 parts. Anyway, she comes back to London.
What's the name of it?
What's it called? It's called Undercover.
Undercover.
So she comes back to London, right? And you'd have thought on this incredible mission, and by the way, she's been on TV all around the world while she's come out of the jail to try and save this guy, to become a core celebrity right around the world,
Amnesty International scenario.
She turns up in Primrose Hill in a black taxi, hauling her bags out of a taxi, so like her husband hasn't even bothered to come to the airport to meet her, neither is anybody.
Well, maybe she came back unexpectedly.
Well, she thinks she'd have rung ahead and said, by the way, can you help me with my bags?
Well,
I'll meet you at the airport.
Phone battery was dead, wasn't it?
Phone battery was dead, but she could have charged
It's starting to make more sense now.
Yeah. Anyway, she gets into the house, and as I say, all her grown-up kids are there, and her husband's there.
The kids are grown up?
Kids are grown up.
I thought she was like 25.
She looks 25, but so anyway, her husband, and there's another half hour of this programme to go, and you never quite find out what her husband does. No, I'm seriously, but she walks in, bizarrely, her husband is wearing a wetsuit, right? Standing in the garden while one of his kids is spraying him with a hose pipe. I mean,
why?
I've no idea.
So the kids are grown up, you say?
Yeah, I've no idea.
Right.
No idea. Anyway.
How bizarre.
So she says, it was very upsetting.
Well, there's a funny folk in Primrose Hill, is all I can say.
Well,
I used to live there.
There's a Lido up there, right?
Oh, there's one in Camden. Well, it's Gospel Oak, actually.
Whatever.
Parliament Hill Fields.
Parliament Hill, it's a huge Lido.
That's right, yeah.
Because the next
Around
thing...
the back of Alistair Campbell's house.
we see the husband swimming in the Lido. That's all he seems to do.
All right.
Swim.
Well, maybe he's training to be a diver or something.
No, it's all bizarre. Anyway, so then somebody says to her, "Oh, are you going to take the job?" And she said, "Well, I'm thinking about it,
Well, it's a different job.
No, you know what the job is?
No.
Director of Public Prosecutions.
Oh, really?
In this country.
Right, okay.
Because she turns out to be like an ace lawyer, barrister or something like that.
Right.
And it just gets more and more bizarre.
Very strange.
Then her husband's father is in hospital with critical illness.
Yeah.
He's going every day to see him. Then the hospital ring and say, "You better come. It's your father."
Yeah.
And he says...
We haven't been able to kill him.
No. You better come. It's your father. He says, "I can't. Why? My wife's just rung me, wants me to go and take her home from work. She's feeling a bit tired."
All right.
When they get home from work, instead of him then saying, "Right, I'm now going to see my father," she says...
He gets the wetsuit on again.
Yeah, worse. She says, "I tell you what, let's go on holiday to Cornwall."
Okay.
So they all get in the car and drive off to Cornwall. And when they get to Cornwall, he gets a call saying, "Your father's dead." So trying to work out why he didn't bother going and seeing his old fella and decided to push off to Cornwall with his wetsuit and a surfboard to do a bit of surfing.
Well, that's obviously why I had the wetsuit on. I'm sorry, it's not supposed to be a comedy, I presume. Well, anyway, there was a fascinating review of, what was it called, this show? Undercover.
Yeah.
So same time next Sunday night.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll look forward to another, it's a Porkyvision. This is Talk Sport.
Welcome to the Startup Fair. Are you an exhibitor?
Yeah, Rachel Dunn, Twinkle Cupcakes.
Right. Got your schedule and coffee token?
Yep.
Oh, and your public liability insurance?
No.
We need it for all stall holders. Contact Direct Line. Their annual public liability policy covers you at trade fairs, and they'll email right away to confirm you're covered.
So I could still set it up today?
Sure.
With an extra coffee token?
Nice try. Next, please.
Instant proof and confirmation of cover. Can your public liability insurance do that? Search Direct Line Public Liability Insurance. Valid email address required. Underwritten by UK Insurance Limited.
I told him yesterday what I was thinking of doing. And when I'd finished, he just sat there. Then he said...
Don't join the army.
I looked straight at him and said... Don't what? Don't stand on my own 2 feet. Don't do something that actually matters. Don't learn new things. Don't become a better me. Then he looked at me differently, like he'd finally understood.
To find out how to be a better you, search Army Jobs. Army, be the best.
The Form Zone on Talk Sport with Betfair. Listen to Talk Sport throughout the weekend for Betfair's experts' essential guide to all the latest form and odds as all the big teams face off. Everything you need to keep ahead of the game and make sure you know where the smart money is this weekend. The Form Zone on Talk Sport with Betfair. Cash out just got better. Choose how much you want to cash out, lock in some profit, and leave the rest of the bet to run. Selected bets only. Terms and conditions apply. Gambleaware.co.uk.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on. More Porkyvision next week. And, of course, tonight on the show, it's Porky Quiz time. And the quiz is on Bobby Charlton.
It is, Sir Bobby Charlton.
Alessandro says, bloody hell, this is a long story. I've turned over and he's still at it. Yeah. Porky could clear a bar out with his stories. Well, Sam says Sophie Okinado is 47.
Right.
And Gemma
looks 25.
Gemma has posted a picture of all these KitKats and says, for once, Porky's actually right.
Thank you.
And there's a picture on our Twitter of Cherry Blossom, Chestnut, Blueberry Cheesecake, Banana, Apple, Blueberry. Presumably they mean Cherry Blossom, don't they?
Yeah, I think so,
Not Cherry Blossom.
Well, I don't know. They put funny names on them, don't they, to make you feel better, you know what I mean?
By the way, talking about Night Manager, have you seen on the front page of the Times this morning?
Yeah, she's very beautiful,
There's a picture of old Roper's girlfriend, Elizabeth Debicki. Yeah, because apparently there's been a premiere of The Night Manager in Los Angeles. It doesn't say whether it's an actual, screening type premiere, or whether it's the first time they're going to be showing it over there.
Well, aren't all our listeners on the west coast of America lucky because they already know what's happened because I did that in the Porkyvision, didn't I?
Well, maybe not so lucky.
So they all know.
Would say. Well, in Australia they're not happy with you because they were only on episode 2 last week.
Well,
when you gave it all away.
That's tough luck, pal. You know, you've got to get up and be with it. Now listen,
Danny from Newcastle said that review has got me in tears.
Really?
Yeah.
Why? Because he thinks it's sad that.
No, I think he means in a funny way.
Oh, in a funny way. Yeah. It wasn't meant to be funny. I'm a serious broadcaster.
I know.
Anyway, listen. You know why we played a bit of Russian music?
Yeah. Why?
Well, the sources that I rely on for my sort of information on intelligence and all that.
You mean your handlers over in the Kremlin?
Well, I'm not going to react to that sort of ridiculous jibe.
I mean, it's not an unfair assessment of some of the things that you come out with to say that you are more than, shall we say, forgiving of the Putin regime. Some of the things that you say.
I think the Putin regime has good and bad points, like every government in the world. America's got good and bad, and Britain's got good and bad. The problem is too many people in the world say, oh, Russia's all bad. It's not all bad. I mean, the Syria situation might be getting sorted quite soon, to be honest, and the most influential people there to bring stability to Syria appear to have been the Russians.
Well, I mean, stability is a bit of a big word to use, considering
I agree,
it's not
it's a big
stable.
word. I agree, it's a big word, but a lot of people say stability is better than warfare, no matter who's in charge. I bet you 300,000 Libyans and 300,000 Iraqis who've lost their lives since their governments were deposed and their dictators were brought down would rather they had the stability of a dictator than the civil war that's led to the deaths of hundreds of thousands and their families.
Certainly they'd probably rather be alive, but it's a very complicated question. I'm not sure we can get into it.
Anyway, what's been uncovered is an astonishing speech by Kim Philby.
Oh, yeah.
He was one of our Cambridge spies,
he
right?
was indeed, yes.
A man who was treacherous to this country.
One of the top people of this country, right?
Yeah, one of the top people. He was right at the top of MI6, this guy, and he was a Russian spy, and we didn't uncover him for years because we couldn't believe a man in such a high position and of such good stock, if you see what I mean, such good breeding.
Yeah, but you see, isn't that the problem?
Yes.
Because of people like you who would look at someone like him and go, oh, look, he went to this great school, he's gone to Oxbridge, as you keep calling it.
Yes.
What a man he must be of the establishment,
Yes.
what a fantastic fellow.
Yeah.
He must be a top bloke. And, of course, he was a treacherous, horrible turncoat.
He was.
A guy who put people's lives at risk.
Oh, no, he cost agents around the world, British agents around the world, their lives, undoubtedly, by giving our secrets to the Russians. A despicable and evil man. But anyway, we found out an astonishing speech by Kim Philby in 1981 has surfaced on a video. Get this.
This must be a very crackly old black and white thing.
Yeah, it must have been. Yeah, on a video in the archives of the Stasi. Now, you know who the Stasi were?
Stasi were the East German
secret police.
Yeah.
And it's taken
have
years.
you ever seen that film, The Lives of Others? I suppose that's a stupid question.
No.
But it's a great film.
Yeah.
It's a German-made film.
Oh, yes.
But it's all about
It's got subtitles.
Yeah, it's about all these people living together in East Berlin.
Right.
And how they're all kind of turned on each other by the Stasi. It's a fantastic film.
Really?
Yeah.
Right. Well, anyway, it says it's got grainy content, obviously, as you quite rightly said. But it's only just surfaced from years and years of research into the Stasi files since the Berlin Wall came down.
Because they're still looking for those, really, aren't they? I mean, they're going through them, I should say.
Exactly, right. Now, for the first time, the notorious double agent and the member, of course, of the Cambridge spy ring we just told you about, right? It's the first time he's ever been seen speaking openly about his treachery.
And is he speaking to somebody at the Stasi then, or is this something...
What he's doing is he's addressing a load of Stasi agents, and telling them about how he infiltrated the British system, at such a high level.
Right.
So, for 30 years, he was passing secrets to his Soviet Union masters from the heart of British government, Right. He was head of the anti-Soviet section at MI6, and yet he was a spy. But he says to these guys...
So did he spend a bit of time in East Germany, then?
This is after he fled to Russia.
Oh, I see, right.
This is after he was exposed. And, he fled on a boat to Scandinavia, and they let him go.
Right, I know.
They just let him go.
I know.
And they said, where's he gone? Oh, he's gone on a cruise to Norway.
Because at that time, he might actually have ended up being executed, mightn't he?
He could have been. He could have
For
been
treason.
indeed for treason.
Yeah.
So they let, and I think that's part of the reason why they let him go. I think the establishment just said, we just can't have this, you know what I mean? We can't be going around hanging our own people.
And you wonder as well whether there might have been other things that they didn't want coming out.
Well, not only that, but I imagine the people who let him go might also have been Russian spies as well.
Possibly speaking.
So he gets to Norway, and he was last seen in Oslo, and then he just disappeared, and then he surfaced in Russia, in Moscow.
Oh, okay. So this is during that period, basically?
Yes, that was during the Cold War.
Yeah.
So... Anyway, it says Philby revealed to the people he was talking to how easy it was to infiltrate the British establishment, sneeringly characterising the British intelligence service as clumsy, upper-class idiots.
Yeah.
Right?
Well,
That's what you think of them, isn't it?
Well, it's not what I think of them, but I'm slightly wary of anything that is entirely filled with one particular group of people.
Yeah.
Because it's not good for democracy and it's not good for, the common sense of running government.
Yeah. He boasts to his spellbound listeners in East Berlin that he himself was born into the ruling class of the British Empire. That he believes is why he was recruited to be an agent as a student at Cambridge, where he'd become enthralled by communism. In the video, Philby's wearing sunglasses. He's then aged 69 and explains in his hour-long talk, complete with a Q&A session from the Stasi spies he's talking to. Looking back to my recruitment, I think the strangest bit about it was that I was recruited at all. At the time, I had no job, no access to any secrets. However, I had impeccable bourgeois origins and bourgeois education.
Yeah.
And that, he says, was what protected him from suspicion for decades.
That was the problem, yeah. I mean, I think life is not quite as bad as that now, but in certain, echelons of society, I think it still is. You get away with a lot more because people just assume, he's not that sort of chap.
But that's exactly.
He wouldn't do that sort of thing.
He says, because I'd been born into the British governing class through his parentage, through his parents, and I knew a lot of people of influential standing, I knew they would never get too tough with me or too heavy. They just wouldn't suspect me.
Yeah.
He quickly rose up the ranks at MI6, also known as the Secret Intelligence Service, and boasts of the ease with which he stole secrets. You've probably all heard stories that the SIS is an organisation of mythical efficiency, a very, very dangerous thing indeed. Well, in a time of war, it honestly was not. Every evening, get this, Mike, every evening he left the MI6 building, which is not the one that we've got now.
No, because that's much more modern.
What's it called? The River House.
Well, they call it that in the Night Manager.
They called it the Night Manager,
but it's not actually called that.
Yeah, but listen to this. Every evening, I left the office with a big briefcase full of secret reports.
I mean, it shouldn't be laughing. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah. He said some of them I'd written myself.
Right.
And then I went to the library and got files taken out of the actual documents from the archives of MI6.
Yeah.
I would hand them to my Soviet contact in the evening.
And presumably you'd meet him in somewhere like Green Park, which is how it all used to work in those days, like the Ipcris file, right?
Yeah. He said the next morning I would meet the contact again. They'd give me the files back after they'd photographed them all overnight, right?
Right.
And then I'd take them...
just take them back?
Take them back and put the files back in their place.
Incredible.
I did this for a number of years.
Yeah.
All he had to do to gain access to the secret files that had nothing to do with his job, he was in a completely different department of the Secret Service, was treat the archivist in charge of the department that day to a couple of drinks after work.
Right.
Sometimes the archivist would bring them to me in the pub.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I wonder if it was that pub. Well, I suppose MI6 in those days would have been... It was always somewhere around Victoria, I always thought, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Somewhere in that neck of the woods.
Well, you know if you go over the bridge near Lambeth Palace, Lambeth Bridge.
Lambeth Bridge, yeah.
The building on the other side is MI5. So I reckon it must have been around. And then you go straight on up Horseferry Road to Victoria Station.
Yes. It was always around that
all
kind
around
of place,
there,
Because I'm just wondering, the spy room that I told you I went to when I went to see Stephen Gray's book being launched.
Yes.
Which is a room above the pub, right opposite the current MI6 building.
Yes.
I wonder if it was that pub. Might have been.
Maybe.
Very possibly so.
Yeah, amazing.
Because, also, we were saying that about the Panama Papers the other day. Somebody probably downloaded all of those files from whichever office that they used.
Which files?
The Panama Papers.
Oh, the Panama Papers, of course,
on just like a memory stick.
Yeah,
one of these little things you can just put in your in your handbag or in your pocket.
Yeah.
But they must have had to do it over a long period of time.
Exactly.
So somebody must have been remiss in that area. Got lots more to tell you, but we haven't got much time. This is Talk Sport.
So baby, you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go, do it all again. You better catch your own train.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. There will be a podcast coming out a little bit later on, of course. And tonight it's the Porky quiz on Bobby Charlton. As I say, I haven't seen the questions yet. We won't see those until later on tonight. A couple more tweets to read out to you. Lord Rallo says, best Porkyvision in ages. This undercover show sounds like a top-notch comedy. Rob says, on the other hand, once again, Porkyvision is wrong. Porky's missing key moments and making up scenes.
No, I'm not.
Doesn't sound like it to
I'm
me.
sorry.
You refute that?
I refute that absolutely. I didn't make anything up. Why would I make things up for?
Well, why would you?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't think so.
You didn't have to make things up to it was such a confusing and bizarre programme, you'd have to make anything up at all.
Yeah, right. Jason says this, I'm not quite sure if I'm going to get this right. He's driving from Hua Hin to Bangkok. And that's Huahin. Right. That is in Thailand. Hua Hin?
Yeah, I suppose so, yeah.
He said, I had to pull over in tears. Yeah. That review was radio gold.
Yeah, well...
Hashtag Porky Legend.
Sorry, we are a serious broadcasters here. All I was doing was relating what was going on in the programme, OK?
Right.
Yeah.
And Paul says, reviewing these programmes after a Sunday 12-hour shift in Wetherspoons, lapsing in and out of consciousness.
Yeah.
That's a bit harsh.
Who is? He is, or
no,
we
I think he's saying you are.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
No, I'm not. Don't worry. Everything's OK there.
And then here's this from, just to top off the various musical references from Jeff.
Yeah.
Rosemary was originally sung by Nelson Eddy in the 1935 film of the same name. Surely Porky remembers it.
Well, I don't remember it. Obviously, I remember 1935.
Do you remember the film, Rosemary?
Well, do you know what? I think I remember my dad singing it and telling me where it came from. I think I do remember that. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
See, that's not at all familiar to me.
Yeah, OK.
Now, you got a busy day ahead of you?
Busy day.
Have
you? Making the final preparations for two things.
Yeah.
Firstly, my new campaign of bladderation in moderation.
Yes, indeed. I'm looking forward to that, yeah.
I'll be perfecting...
I'm not necessarily joining you in that, by the way.
No, well, I wouldn't expect you to, because you do have the life of... you live the life of an alley cat, the morals of an alley cat, right?
I think it's the word you're looking for.
Secondly, of course, I'll be perfecting the beer diet for the weekend in Manchester.
Yeah.
They're making the final preparations to go up to Manchester.
Is it Boddingtons you'll be drinking up there? Bodies?
I might do. I might just have a bottle of the Old Becks or something like that. And then there are things to do next week, which we'll tell the audience about tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah, there's constantly announcements being made. If you want to find out what's going on with our tour or what's going on with DVDs, downloads, all of that stuff, go to the2mics.co.uk, and there you will find everything you need to find.
And the rugby box office will be open soon.
I mean, I'm obviously got an interest in this because my daughter will be getting married at some point.
Oh, well, you better start saving, pal.
In the next few years. No, I've told her I'm not paying for it.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I'm not
that's a really supportive father.
I've told her I'm not paying for it. No, because I don't believe in it. I paid for my own wedding, and there's no reason why she can't pay for hers.
Yeah, but hang on, man. You paid for your own wedding when you're running quite a successful business in New York City. You had the money.
Yeah.
Well, your daughter's only just arrived in this country.
Well, then maybe she can't afford to get married until she's got the money.
Well, maybe she can't. That's absolutely true.
Why should I be, handing out thousands of pounds so that she can have a big party with all her friends?
What a miserable and mean approach to your fatherly responsibilities.
No, it's not at all miserable.
That's dreadful. What a Scrooge-like character you are.
That's not true.
Emma's a lovely girl. Lots of people know. They've seen a picture of her.
It's called being a responsible parent.
No, it's
you know nothing about that.
I know everything about the fact that you prefer to spend money on £75 bottles of champagne than bring happiness to your daughter.
Yeah, but I'm not going to buy 75 bottles of £75 champagne to give to 75 people when she can pay for it herself. How about this from us?
That's disgraceful.
I don't think it is disgraceful. You know nothing about parenting. Steve says this. The last thing Porky cooked was the books. # offshore plank account.
That's very nice.